shoot, where's our basement?
Inside.
Oh my god.
What?
In between Lakeside, where your middle school was, and Soddy Daisy, there's hail. Oh my gosh. Like, oh, there's a few moments of peak size hail that hits the Middle Valley towards Lakeside. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I don't know about this. I got my phone charging just in case.
I need my phone to be charging.
Girl, plug it up. Oh, that's not even right to think about that.
What did you think about?
My phone charging.
You ain't got a charge it?
No, it's at like 35%.
That does not sound like a goddamn chain up there, boy.
Thinks Spray Predator is now live. Streaming NBA 2K17, NBA 2K17042.
Damn, it took forever to fucking say that shit, didn't it? Son of a bitch. There's a whole lot of business going on. It's like every dawn has its burn. Every cowboy in the same zone. 'Cause every hoe has a STD. Damn. We're getting ready to have to delete this shit and start over. We're at 2051. And if the simulator just takes this long, like. And Jeff Thomas starts saying things like basketball lube, get the hell out of here. busting nuts everywhere. Alright, I'm gonna smoke me a J. I mean, I say a J, but in reality, it's just a cigarette. I just couldn't find a lighter. Saved my life. But we got one now. So yeah, I'm gonna let this game play, and then we might do a finals game, start the next season, and then get up out of here. Jump on that Fortnite or that Red Dead. Fortnite pissed me off earlier, so I kind of want to have it. Just one more shot at it. Kind of. If it pisses me off again, then we just jumping on Red Dead. Fuck it. Fuck the bullshit.
Yeah, really quiet and still all of a sudden. That's right before tornado hits.
not reachable. What the fuck? No. Oh, it's literally just you.
Is it outside? I'm just saying, you should check, bruh. Cause I don't see it in the house.
Just had it, or just send me something. Turn it off because you're all freaking out about a tornado.
I didn't close it.
I don't know what the fuck I done did with the shit. Oh, it's right here.
No. I literally don't want it, but okay.
State business.
Oh, he found it.
Well, I'm familiar with the German
found it,
porn
Mama.
industry, and by the way, I don't know how those people lost World War II, as tough as they are. But possibly has he gotten a job in the German porn industry?
I wouldn't think so. From what friends are telling, because I haven't heard from him directly as of yet, but from what I'm hearing from contacts and associates that I have over there, is that he's taken up schooling over there. He's writing blogs and various articles on racing. And as you know, he's an aspiring journalist. He's going to school at IU University. And if I had to guess, I'd say they have paid for him to go over there and enhance his studies and his schooling. And plus, I know he's got a girlfriend over there because he found her on my Facebook page and he started writing her. And she was 15 when I first knew her, but I think she's almost 18 now, though.
Well, to you, jailbait is an embryo, but nevertheless,
There's no limit in Germany, so that's why I didn't really feel all that.
there's no speed limit in Germany. It's not an age of consent. There's no speed limit on the Autobahn. You've got your wires crossed there.
It's the speed limit. There's no.
It's the speed limit, not the age of consent.
I thought it was the age limit. Well, shit.
Well, that changes everything.
I gotta delete some emails if you don't mind. Thought I was all right on that.
Well, let's talk about enough about the prince. Let's talk about your brother Tim. They call him Biscuits and Gravy. Biscuits and Gravy is his nickname. And your brother Tim, he's your little brother. He's your little brother. He's 6'6", 385. 6'6" and 385.
He slumps over a bit these days. He's got a bad back. He's more like 6'3", maybe 6'3 and a half, and then probably about 395.
What's Biscuits and Gravy doing for Christmas?
I don't know. I haven't spoke to him in quite some time.
Has there been a rift in the Bolin brothers?
Well, as you know, Jimmy, I don't get along well with stupid people, and and some have labeled my brother with that title, and he
if it was raining soup, he would be out in the yard with a fork. I will admit that, but
one of them big wide three-pronged ones at that. Not even a good fork like you or I would use to give ourselves a fighting chance. But no, in all seriousness, we patched things up before the prince bailed out, and I really thought he was moving down the street. I didn't realize he was going to Germany, but maybe he didn't want me to come look for him. I don't know. Maybe he felt that I would continue to try to care for him and take care of his needs and pay all of his bills as I've done in the past, and maybe he just wanted to sprint out on his own. But Timmy John, Biscuits and Gravy, he's out in Carrollton. He's got the deer shack out there that he built. I think he built this thing for a grand total of like $8,000.
Now, is this the facility he was living in that was 3 stories and the first 2 stories weren't finished because they flooded often, so he lived up on top of it, or is that?
To maybe label him as not so stupid, he intentionally did not finish the previous 2 levels, knowing that about 4 times a year they flood down there. And also to make him look like a bit of a genius, every flood they've had has been an inch or 2 shy of entering that 3rd level. So maybe he's a little smarter than some people give him credit for.
does have a little bit of a problem with gambling because he goes to the boat a lot, doesn't he? Now for the folks around the world who don't understand, here in Kentucky, casino gambling is not legal except if it's on a riverboat. That's one of those old laws, old rules. So what they do is
loopholes. They call it.
It's a loophole. They call it. You know about loopholes.
I know about loopholes. I've seen a few.
So what they do is they between here and Cincinnati, up and down the Ohio River, they have a number of boats that are docked permanently to the shore, but they have a walkway that you can go from the shore onto the boat, and as long as you gamble, so it's basically floating casinos that never go anywhere, and that's how they get around. That's the loophole. That's how they get around these things.
That's the loophole. And that made my brother's life when that came to fruition down there in Carrollton, Kentucky, because he moved from Pendleton, Kentucky, moved to Carrollton, built the deer shack for about $8,000 out of his own pocket. He sold his land to be able to do it. 3 stories high, facing the Kentucky River, which floods about 4 times a year. But when that river's not flooded, and when he can get into a vehicle of some type and make his way down to the casino, you can bet 3 to 4 days a week, if not 5. That's where you'll find him. And if Tim's got a $20 bill in his pocket, he's pulling a handle on a money machine somewhere. That's what he does.
Timmy John,
and he likes that. He likes to live that way.
Timmy John reminds us all of if the great actor Slim Pickens. If Slim Pickens was a giant 6'6", 385-pound man, he would be the twin brother of Timmy John. Actually, he's your half brother. His last name. Well, we shouldn't mention his last name, I guess, because we could be charged with slander here on the experience. But they call him Biscuits and Gravy.
Biscuits and Gravy. It's probably the safe way. I don't think we can be sued for calling him Biscuits and Gravy, because for whatever reason, the dumb fuck gave his own self that name because he was jealous that I was called the King Bee, the Star Maker, all the various names I've got. And he was jealous of that, so he gave him his own self the nickname Biscuits and Gravy. He called me and left that on my voicemail one day.
But now that a lot of people around, especially around the bingo halls up in Henry County, call him Biscuits and Gravy. But what about bowling? We haven't talked about what Mall Bowling is doing now.
We're done with Mall Bowling. We've already talked about her, and we've talked about that already. We don't need to talk anymore about what's going on with Mall Bowling.
Is she happy this Christmas? Have you gotten her a nice Christmas present?
Not so much. All right. I know where you're going with it. I'll go ahead and go there with you. You know this. You set me up again. You know for a fact that Mall Bowling was living with my sister June, and June, who was dating, and we're in the South here, and sometimes words are thrown about that shouldn't be. But
don't do anything you shouldn't do here. Around the world.
Well, let's just say the young fella that she started dating and left her job over was a man of the darker persuasion, and my mother, being an old Confederate Army wife of Ray L. Stallings in Norfolk,
who actually, I must say, was it your father or your stepfather that was the last man in the state of Kentucky arrested for cattle rustling, and that is a recorded.
That is a documented fact. Something that the Risen family is very proud of. The Risen family, the adopted family of one Kenny Starmaker Bolin, and he was the last man ever arrested and convicted of cattle rustling in the state of Kentucky, and that was in 1968. He served 2 years in the.
And it was only one cow. It was only one cow.
It was only one cow, and technically he was with the guy that stole the cow, but because he drove the getaway car, he took the full sentence right along with the guy that stole the cow, one Sanford Suter.
Well, that's the RICO statute, where, racketeering, organized crime.
Right, there you go. Yeah, you know the law. And so he was sentenced to 8 years and served 2 years and 8 months. Got out in 1970 some odd.
Yeah.
Well,
let's just leave it at that. Your sister June was in an interracial relationship.
But us Bolins and Risens and Stallings, we all pay for our crimes. If we commit a crime, we pay the piper, and then we get back into society.
You've never paid for the lunch. I've
never committed a crime, and I don't like buying lunch.
To answer the question, where is Ma Bolin and what is she doing this Christmas?
Ma Bolin, due to the circumstances that my sister had put her into, it wasn't really Ma Bolin's fault. She lost her job as general manager of the Dairy Queen. She was there making $48,000 a year as a general manager. Pretty good.
June.
My sister June.
Yeah.
Pretty good accomplishment for her because she did that with a GED. She took a GED education, got her a $48,000 a year job, and but she fell in love with a much younger, darker persuasioned individual that worked with her at the Dairy Queen, and she was told
Those May-December romances.
yeah, sort of like that. And she was told that this relationship needed to end or she was going to lose her job. Well, my sister don't like being pushed or bullied around.
Because
So
they were both together and they didn't like relationships amongst employees, is what you're saying.
They didn't care for that. No, that was a no-go at the Dairy Queen facility. So instead of telling this young man to venture on to another store, get another job, go to another Dairy Queen or whatever, my sister took a stand and she said, "Well, fuck you, I quit." And gave up her $48,000 a year job and then got her a part-time job at the Dollar Tree, making about $7 an hour, about 20 hours a week. And that led to many, many months of no rent being paid, led to an eviction. I hate to hear when anyone's evicted from their home. It's a terrible thing. And so they were evicted, and right now my sister and my mother are currently homeless during the Christmas season.
Homeless at Christmas. Now, meanwhile, the Prince Catbox, your son, has just moved to Germany under questionable circumstances. So you've got plenty of room there in Bolin Manor. Why have you not welcomed your mother, who's now, what is she, 79 years old now?
70, let's see, I'm 53. She's
Well, you don't need to do the math. I'm close enough. The point is, she's
74.
she's closing in on 80 years old, and she's
Closing
homeless
in.
at Christmas.
Yes.
And you've got plenty of room there at Bolin Manor because your son has fled the country.
Well, I don't
And-
know what your definition of plenty of room is. It's a one-bedroom apartment. Let's get back to the facts here. And yes, I have a large sofa that would seat any sized individual, and I've got a big recliner, and a large kitchen, a large laundry room.
So why have you not asked Ma Bolin if she wants to come and live with you?
Because there ain't no fucking room. It's just me here. It's a one-bedroom apartment. I mean, goddamn, we all got to look out for each other. And, shit, why should I be put in the same circumstances they're in?
All right.
And technically, let me get it straight now. Let's tell the whole story for what it is. They're not technically homeless. That's just a name.
That's just, you just got an application. There's
It's application. My sister.
and for all the listeners who don't know what that means, you're not supposed to, because that's merely
No.
wrestling promo talk that we've been doing for the past 40 years. But so, let's.
let me-
she's not technically homeless, is what you're saying. It's just a name, just a label that they've been.
It's just a label because she's got a roof over her head. My sister June, he's like a husband. She's been with him for 17 years and spawned 4 kids with him. JJ. Hell,
Now that's not the other gentleman that you were talking about. We're talking about the first guy, not the second guy.
No, we're talking. He's technically the first guy. We're not talking
First
about the second guy.
Second
He's the
guy.
first guy.
He's the first guy.
He spawned the first 4 children with June. So I guess if there was such a law in Kentucky, they would be legally married, but they did away with that quite some time ago. Saved your ass now that I think about it. And but they live with her sister, and you want to know about my charitable contributions? I took my sister, my nephew, and JJ out for dinner. I got them hooked up at the Golden Corral, got them a nice meal, told them to get to-go boxes in case they ran low on food where they're at, because they're living in a home right now, a double-wide trailer, and she said the last head count she took was 16 people. But
it's a double wide, so
it's a double wide. And she said out of her own mouth, Kenny, there's room for everybody to lay down and sleep at night. Now, is that about all one can ask for?
That's really the most that one can ask for. But you talk about dinner at the Golden Corral. Let's switch gears here for a second. If I can regain control of
and Ma Bolin is in a single wide, and there's only 8 people in that place. So if you do the math, it's about the same in either place.
8 in a single wide, 16 in a double wide. If you're Yeah, it's about the same. It
Yeah.
pretty much is.
So why overcrowd me when they've gotten used to overcrowding anyway? They've now become accustomed to it. They've been there a month or two, and I'm here all by myself.
Well, I can see that Christmas has certainly left you in a charitable frame of.
Absolutely.
Let's
I
switch.
got him a meal.
Yeah, let's switch gears to your new business. You talked about dinner at the Golden Corral. You have a new business you're in, rotating dinners with
Yeah.
King Bolin. Can you tell the folks a little bit about that for if
can't
anybody
wait.
around Louisville, Kentucky, and wants to avail themselves of this service?
I have been labeled as probably one of the sweetest and kindest and most gentle men ever to walk the planet Earth. And when I put this on Facebook, what are you laughing about? When I put this on Facebook,
Sorry, I just got a feather up my ass.
well, you shouldn't tickle yourself that way, but you've done it before. But when I put that on Facebook because a wrestling fan gave me the idea. I had one fan says, King, I would do anything to have dinner with you and converse with you about wrestling. I said, well, you do anything. All right. Well, I don't want sex because I like females. So here's what we can do. I sell the Bolin Services shirts. They have become extremely popular since I retired from Ohio Valley Wrestling about a year and 2 months ago because they were never sold the 3.5 years that we were there. They were never up for sale. So I started selling those here recently, and they started doing very well. And then I got into the headphone business, Jimmy. Have you seen my headphones?
I've seen your headphones. They're amazing.
Beats by Bolin, Beets, not to be confused with Beats by Dre with a different spelling. Those are the knockoff of the Bolin headphones as far as I'm concerned. And what I've done is I dramatically lowered the price. The Beats, they sell anywhere from $200 to $390 a set. Well, I've due to a deal that I made in China with some very influential people over there, I get these headphones at a greatly reduced rate, put my own logo on them out of my own time and trouble, with an agreement I've made with the good folks at Vistaprint, and I have the logos put on those headphones, and I sell them for a mere $30. They sound almost as good as Beats, if not better, to some testimonials. And if you have dinner with me, if you buy my headphones and my T-shirt, that only costs $55, and if there's 4 of you, then I'll have dinner with you for 90 minutes and answer any questions you have about wrestling, and you get to have dinner with Kenny Bolin at either the Golden Corral, the Hooters, or Gaddyland. I rotate the 3 so as not to overwear out our welcome.
I was about to say, you rotate these dinners around the Louisville area, so sometimes it's Golden Corral, sometimes it's at Gaddyland, sometimes it's at Hooters.
Hooters, one of your favorites.
And basically, if people buy a set of headphones and a Bolin Services T-shirt, they get not only the honor of having dinner with you, but also you cover their dinner. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. I cover the dinner. I make a trade with the management.
Now, I was about to say, do you pay cash for these dinners? Do you pay cash for these dinners, or are these dinners complimentary because of your arrangement with the managers of these fine establishments?
Due to my celebrity status and some various things that I trade them that they like to receive, no, there's no cash transaction, no.
When is the last time?
Other than the cash they give me for the headphones and the shirt. Now, that's cash only.
When is the last time that you paid for a meal at a restaurant in the greater metropolitan Louisville, Kentucky area?
2005 O'Charlie's with a young lady named Dawn Hilton. Don Hilton, I paid $18.64 because the manager I normally deal with was not there, and it still irks at me to this day.
Because you're a very you're accomplished at the barter system, and if we ever go back to the old days,
said about me all day.
If we ever go back to the old days where they used to barter like furs and skins and things and such for services, you barter pretty much everything. When is the last time you paid cash for something?
I would say probably 1984.
So what you provide is goods and services in exchange for goods and services around here in the area.
It worked for Daniel Boone. It worked with Festus and those guys on Gunsmoke. It worked with Davy Crockett.
Well, I know so many of your activities really.
The riflemen, they all bartered.
Yeah, so many of your business activities can't be talked about publicly because, after all, you are eligible for your Fifth Amendment rights, and so many things can't be talked about. But you've got.
Did you hear what one of the fans labeled our show as today? Because you don't have the greatest reputation either. It was called The Rich Bitch versus the Meat Scammer. Well, they're still trying to stick me with that because I took advantage of a warranty here a while
Now
back.
wait a minute, we're going to get into the meat scam. That's don't jump ahead. That's the main event of our program here today. But your DVD business, you do a great business. As a matter of fact, I know that for myself, I can speak for this that I never rent a DVD, or I don't involve myself with Netflix or all these other movie services because your
don't link yourself into something you don't want to be a part of, Jimmy.
Well, your movies are just as readily available as most people, except the Russian subtitles. Now, sometimes they don't annoy most people, but sometimes the Russian subtitles on your DVD movies.
I force education upon the people. Anybody can read the English subtitles, but who can read the Mandarin, the Chinese, and the Russian? Those are your intelligent customers right there.
Well, it does help some of the young folks discover the miracle of foreign languages.
Jimmy, I've said it for years. I've always had my finger in the youth of America, and anything I can do to push education on these young kids, I'll shove it to them as hard as I can.
Well, that's been your motto for as long as I can remember. But I must say that you did release a video that I found very entertaining.
Yeah.
After the WWF released My Life by John Cena, you compiled a lot of footage because everybody knows you did manage John Cena. You were his first manager in OVW. You managed
first and only manager.
For years, first and only manager that John Cena's ever had. And did you or did you not come out with a video called Our Life with Kenny Bolin and John Cena? Well,
of course, because his was already entitled My Life. I couldn't copy that. So I came up with Our Life because that's the God's honest truth. It was mine and his life and my good friend Rico. And I put him on the video. And as a matter of fact, we gave him some residuals off that DVD. Well, I'll tell you, I'll send him a free copy of the DVD. That's what I did.
Well, I remember
Las Vegas.
That's one thing you always do. You always give back to the community. I remember one time we were doing a fundraiser on television. We had the Scott Marshall and Kyle Reber from the McMahon Fire Department.
I remember them. Those kind-hearted firemen. I remember them. They were like that.
Because they were collecting money for the WHAS Crusade for Children, which Ohio Valley Wrestling and I always supported. Was the oldest and largest local fundraising program anywhere in the country.
Some people in the McMahon Fire Department.
Shut up! I'm doing a plug here now. I'm doing a bit. Let me get
bit. Well, you do your bit, and I'll just shut up. How's that?
Shut up for a second, because
I'm all here.
As Lance Storm would say, if I can be serious for a moment, the WHAS Crusade for Children since 1951 has been the largest local fundraising effort in any community in America. They have raised well over $100 million over those 50 years for the special needs children of Kentucky and southern Indiana. Many children and many adults owe their lives to the WHAS Crusade for Children and all the local fire departments and all the local, everything every year, the first Saturday in every June, from fire departments to kids doing lemonade stands to businesses to the Catholic churches.
My good friend Mike Hallman out in LaGrange Fire Department raised money for the crusade.
In the Louisville area raises money for the WHAS Crusade for Children every year. It's become an institution, and you can look it up, folks. I encourage you to, around the world. WHAS Crusade for Children, Louisville, Kentucky, and you can contribute. It's one of the finest organizations. They've helped so many special needs children that wouldn't have had a chance otherwise. And you came on the program when I was interviewing Kyle Reber and Scott Marshall of the McMahon Fire Department. They were making a donation for the Crusade for Children. And what did you do? You give them, you gave the kids for the Crusade for Children, you gave them 2 passes to Mr. Gaddy's.
Oh, hang on. Let me tell it.
PT Strip Club.
Oh, Jimmy, now you know what my intentions were that day. As you know, I was in alignment strongly with Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. As a matter of fact, he still takes credit for this
wait a minute, because people believe me when I talk. Some way or another, Kenny Bolin actually managed to befriend Mark Cuban on the internet, and not only
friends to this day.
not only became a friend of his, but also the first video that John Cena did in professional wrestling outside of Ohio Valley Wrestling was going to Indianapolis and doing an interview with Mark Cuban and Kenny Bolin on video that we played on the OVW television program. So it's not only just the average local yokel around here. It's not just international yacht broker from Toulon, France. You conned a billionaire to think that now you are a real individual.
You don't think that Cuban would be onto that by now? That man still writes me on Facebook on a weekly basis. He still gets good wishes from me on every Dallas Mavericks win. And he would never fall for that. He helped me build John Cena to what he was. And as a matter of fact, you all got real nervous because I went up there without your permission, knowing y'all would try and screw it up somehow. So I took it upon myself. Cuban sent a limo down here. I stole your camera crew, which you didn't take too kindly to. I went up there. We got all the video footage shot. They put Cena over like $1 million. I taught Tim Hardaway how to shoot three-pointers before the Pacer game. And then all over the press the next day was Kenny Bolin and Mark Cuban are going to squash the WWE like a bug, because that was the quote out of Cuban's mouth, the last thing he said on the video. And you got nervous, Jim Ross got nervous, Vince McMahon got nervous, and this is an absolute shoot, people.
I was about to say, I hate to say this, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time hell has frozen over. Kenny Bolin has just told the truth.
I woke up the next morning and my job had been threatened. Cornette was hot. Jim Ross was hot. Danny Davis was hot. Vince McMahon was even hotter, because not only did they think maybe I just might be crooked enough or smart enough, whatever word you want to use, to cause a bit of a monkey wrench into the WWE, but they knew with Mark Cuban's financial backing that I could do about any goddamn thing I wanted, and that was my full intent. But they got all hot about it. And then what did Vince McMahon do to try and make himself look good? The very next Monday Night Raw they did in the United Airlines down there in Dallas, Texas, the arena that Mark Cuban owns, they put him on television with Eric Bischoff and The Undertaker to try to make it look like it was their idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could say Kenny Bolin was lying, but if you go back, I'm sure it's on the internet. The WWF owns the footage now, but because they bought it. But if you go back on the internet, Kenny Bolin did an interview with John Cena and Mark Cuban before Mark Cuban appeared on Raw. I'm sad to say that this is legitimately the truth. And I don't know how the fuck that you
know what? I didn't think I'd ever get to say this to you, Jimmy, but tell him how great I am, Jimmy. Tell him how great I am. I love hearing this.
Well, that's your story, but it's unfortunately, that is true. I'll give you that, Bolin.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I worked hard to get something out of you today.
As a matter of fact, I think since the first time that I met you, that's the first time that you've actually told the unvarnished truth. You know, I met Kenny Bolin 40 years ago at the Oldham County Fair. I was standing in line at the ticket booth. I reached back in my pocket to grab my wallet to pay for a ticket and shook hands with Kenny Bolin, and our friendship has grown ever since then.
And everyone thinks that you're lying about that, but your wallet was about to fall out of your pants. You remember you wore those loose jeans back then. You didn't really have the ass to fill them out then. Your wallet was falling out of your pants. I saved you about $90 that day.
You were trying to do me a service.
Absolutely. You don't think I'd stick my hand in your pants for any other reason, do you?
Well, I have no...
Absolutely not. Known you 40 years, if that was my intentions, that would have come up by now.
Well, look, let's talk a little, as a matter of fact, let's talk a little U of L basketball.
Oh.
Because the one thing that we both agree on, there's few of them, but the one thing we both agree on is that the University of Louisville Cardinals are without doubt the greatest college basketball program in the country.
Most on it.
For 30 years under Denny Crum, the greatest college basketball coach of all time, U of L has been triumphant, but especially the past couple of seasons, the worm has turned. Now, as you'll recall, 2 years ago, the University of Kentucky Mildcats were the NCAA champions, and they defeated U of L in the annual Great Kentucky Shootout. And they went on to win the NCAA championship. But then last year, the worm turned. And for all our worldwide fans, we've got a bunch of folks from outside the country that might not be aware of this. Last year, Kentucky went in thinking they were going to win it all again. But U of L snuck in there, and U of L ended up...
Preseason number 3 ranking Kentucky went in with last year.
Yep. And what happened? Not only did U of L win the annual Great Kentucky Shootout, and folks, if you're not from the state of Kentucky, you don't understand. But this is the biggest thing since the rematch between Jesus and Judas. This is the Kentucky and Louisville thing. And last season, not only did U of L defeat Kentucky in the annual Great Kentucky Shootout, but then U of L went on to become, in a Cinderella story out of nowhere, the NCAA basketball champions, but also they humiliated the University of Kentucky, who fell apart, and last year in the tournament, in the NCAA tournament, the University of Louisville not only went through the whole thing in that Cinderella story, Kevin Ware's broken leg, but the University of Kentucky Wildcats were reduced. They didn't get a chance to even get in the NCAA tournament. They got in the NIT tournament, and they were playing
the Nobody's Invitational Tournament. It's now called
Invitational Tournament, and they were playing in some ridiculous little high school gym, much like a Ring of Honor show. Robert Morris University's field house, while the University of Louisville played their first round NCAA tournament games at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, the home of
renamed Russ Arena.
Russ Smith, the University of Louisville's finest player. But while U of L was taking over Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, which caused literally suicides in the street in Lexington, Kentucky,
painted the town red.
UK was up there at Robert Morris in an unair conditioned field house, much like the
opening round,
the Bell Vernon, Pennsylvania, and they lost in the opening round.
Yeah, the first ever number one seed of the NIT to lose in the opening round to a 16 seed. It never happened in the history of NIT basketball.
Much less former NCAA champions. It was like George South defeating Ric Flair in 2 straight falls. Meanwhile, U of L went on to win it all. And now this season...
Now, what's been less heard of, George South or the Robert Morris University?
Actually,
that's a tough one there.
George South is John Cena next to Robert Morris University in basketball. But now tell the fans... Kenny Boland, I'll play the part of Nick Goulas. Kenny Boland, if you can, tell these fans exactly what the fuck's going on this year with U of L season and University of Kentucky season.
Well, it all started out in Kentucky. They got preseason ranked number 1. So here we are, the national champions, returning quite a few of our players to the field. And everybody's all thinking, hey, it's got to be Louisville to be number 1. They're the reigning national champions. They're bringing back most of their players. But not Rick Pitino. That's our coach. That John Calipari went out, that slimy bastard, went out and apparently greased some palms of some parents, and he got the number 1 recruiting class in America. He got 8 McDonald's All-Americans, them burger All-Americans, as they call them. They're going to be number 1. And Calipari out of his own mouth said, we're going to go 40-0. That's our goal. We're going 40-0, people. And he even had shirts printed up at the bookshop for all the students to wear. It says 40-0. And then what happened? They played Michigan State. And then they became 39-1. And then they played Baylor, who beat their ass last year, and now the best they can do is 38-2. And then they played, who was it here recently, Jimmy? Do you remember?
I don't even know. Probably a girls' team. It was a girls' team.
No, it wasn't a girls' team. It was Upper South Carolina. That's who they played. They played Upper South Carolina, better known as North Carolina, and they beat their ass like redheaded stepchildren. So now we're down to 37-3. And then the mighty Cardinals are coming up the 28th, and they're getting a little better as the Cats are getting a little worse, and they're going to collide at Russ Arena.
Well, because wait a minute now, U of L is what, 9-1 right now?
9-1 right now. We slipped up against North Carolina, up in South Carolina. They got us too. We weren't prepared for them. But we're going to be prepared for the Wildcats, is all I can tell you.
But see, U of L, it's good if U of L loses a few games early in the season because that just makes them better. And that just makes them want it more. But UK, because UK is over there on the rich side of the state. They're over there. They're snobs is what they are. And the rich kids, whereas the University of Louisville, they're the inner city kids. They're hungry. They want it more.
We take less and get more every single year. We take the kids that the University of Kentucky doesn't want. We take them and not only play by the rules, not only don't have countless NCAA investigations against us, we beat their ass, and they're having a big-time problem with it. And they even try to count those 8 national titles they got. They try to hang that over their head. 5 of them were before the NCAA was number 1 to the NIT. The NIT was the bigger of the groups back then. But now that the NCAA rules it, they count those 5 that really were secondary titles at the time. But no one ever wants to talk about that. So really, Kentucky has 3 real national titles, and Louisville has 3. We're dead even. It could all be settled this year. Once and for all.
And as a matter of fact, I always, when I'm recruiting wrestling talent, when I'm training. Shut up now. When I'm training pro wrestling talent, when I'm recruiting wrestling talent, I go back to the words of the immortal Denny Crum, who was the assistant to John Wooden, the greatest college basketball coach of all time, and who went on to set up a dynasty in the University of Louisville. I always say what Denny Crum said: I don't want guys that can play basketball. I want guys that can jump, because I can teach them how to play basketball. And that's the same way I feel about training pro wrestlers. And let's switch gears one more time, because I see by the old clock on the wall that it's about time to end this program. But by popular demand, because nobody believes this story, even though it's been out in many places, I want you to explain. I want you to explain to the folks that listen to the Jim Cornette Experience, the cult of Cornette, the Kroger double your money back meat guarantee, and why that will never, ever be offered again.
All right. Here's exactly the God's honest truth, 100% shoot. It was not a scam. Jerry Jarrett labeled it as such. Cornette is labeled
it wasn't a scam, because it was what they left themselves open for. But explain how that you lived for months at a time 20 years ago.
What I did when I lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and I hope there's no statute. Well, there can't be a statute of limitations, because
statute of limitations on anything but murder is 7 years. So you can go ahead and you can feel free to fucking confess whatever you want.
Dean Hill says any felony that was over $1,000 is, so it depends who I want to believe, you or a guy.
Well, who are you going to believe? A former University of Louisville, or former Louisville police officer, former member of the SWAT team, or me? Right. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I'll have to think on that.
And besides that, they'd have to find out what your real name is, and one of your many Social Security numbers.
Well, I've only had a few. I am going to tell the story. I'm going to tell the story, but as it ends, you and I together, we need to plug the CAC, our good friend Wolfie Sanderson, the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Yes, a member.
You're a member. I'm a member. Very few members. Vince McMahon's not a member, but we need to plug that before we go. But now I'll tell the story. Okay. What happened was I had bought 4.5 pounds of ground beef at Kroger. I think it was about $1.59 a pound back then, give or take. And I got home, and it had some gristle in it. So I took the meat innocently, took it back to the store, and we had paid in the neighborhood of about $8 for that meat, counting the 8 3/4% tax down in Tennessee. And they handed me back, to my surprise, in the neighborhood of $16 and change. I said, well, goddamn, only paid $8 for it. What's going on here? Oh, well, sir, you've just got to take advantage of our double your money back meat policy. Anytime you get meat at Kroger and you don't like it, we double your money back.
They basically said, if this is not the best meat that you've ever put in your mouth, we will double your money back.
That's exactly what they said. And then I go home and I start paying attention to the ads. Alex, if you remember Alex, he was the head meat guy of all the Krogers and all the land. And
he was on all the commercials.
And he came on TV and he asked for it to be that way. He wanted you to bring that meat back if you weren't happy with it. And I said, well, shit, Alex is going to be out of a job if somebody don't do something about this. And you can't possibly like every piece of meat you put in your mouth. It's got to seem real. So what I did, I thought about some meat that I didn't really like that had a little bit of cost to it. And that was called pork loins. And these particular pork loins at this time, they come in a big long tube, and Kroger sold them, and they sold anywhere from $95 to $105 a roll. And
because they were huge. I remember they were huge, heavy.
Huge and heavy. Exactly. It's exactly what they were. Just shut up.
Yeah, keep going.
So I went to a Kroger and purchased these $105 pork loins, a great investment on my part. $105 was a lot of money back then, especially if you lose it on some meat you don't like. But I didn't fear, because I knew that they were going to double my money back.
You knew they were gonna stand behind this meat. If you got this meat and this
Absolutely.
meat was gristly or tough or not
Yeah.
tasteful, that they were gonna stand behind it like the honorable people that they were.
If I saw anything green, anything like that. So what I did is I bought that meat.
You keep going.
I bought that meat. I took it home, and we cut from the middle of the meat because we figured if there's going to be any flaws, anything's wrong with this meat, it's going to be in the middle. It ain't going to be in the middle. So we cut the meat in the middle, and we had a great dinner. Fed the neighbors, and the neighbors come, and and one of the neighbors looked at me and he says, "Kenny, that ain't exactly what I was expecting." I said, "You know what? That's what I was waiting to hear." I was upset with his meat.
You were just waiting to hear if somebody said that just wasn't meat.
I didn't want to be the guy. I bought the meat.
Be the one. You didn't want to be the negative Nancy. Gloomy guts.
Not me. That's not what I'm about.
You accept it.
But my neighbor Edwin, he was pretty upset about it.
Everybody knows Edwin is a fucking prime assessor of meat quality.
Edwin was the meat connoisseur of the town, and everyone knew if it didn't meet Edwin's utmost standings, the meat should go back. So what I did is I left it out on the counter and told my wife to take that meat back. Well, unfortunately, I had put half of it back in the refrigerator. So she took the piece of meat that had the price tag on it.
You keep your meat numbered for just such an occasion.
Yes, I did. So she took that half of the meat back to the Kroger that we bought it at, like a good, honest, decent citizen, and they gave her back $220 some odd, counting the tax. So there I am sitting with another half of meat in my fridge and the receipt. And I'm like, well, shit, I can take that anyway. I can go to any Kroger in the land with this, and I think they'll give me my money back. So I go in to another Kroger, which I think is totally within my rights, and I hand them the receipt and the meat, and I said, we didn't like that meat. It didn't taste right. Edwin really didn't like it. So they counted me out $225 more. Well, I've made $450 off an investment of $105 after Tennessee sales tax. And I said, well, I've got me quite a little thing going here, because you know what? If Edwin didn't like that strip of meat, he ain't going to like the next one.
There's no reason to think that he'd like the next one if he didn't like that one.
The next one. And they're probably going to buy some meat I don't like, or if I find anything gristly in it, it's going back.
Or if you see anything green.
If I see anything green. And sometimes I did. I mean, that's where that came from. I saw something green and it didn't look right. So I took it back and made $450. So what I did is I basically set up a distributorship. I had the Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky territory, and I would even teach people how to do this. And I taught my customers
for a small seduced rate, a little percentage off of the top.
I got 25% of the haul.
I figured you did.
Got 25% of the haul, but I am teaching them a craft. I don't get 25%. And so I would go to all the Krogers that I could go to throughout that entire southern area, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia.
Never the same one twice.
No, by the time you're circulated all through them, they'd done forgotten you'd ever been there, and you could start all over again.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
That was the plan. So poor Ma Bolin, back to Ma Bolin, who's living in that single wide with 8 people right now.
This is what started the animosity between you and Ma Bolin, because she kind of...
This is where shit went south, because she had the nerve. She heard I'd been making up to $4 and $5 grand a week on this as labeled meat scam, which you've heard my opinion on it. And
it was a meat opportunity.
Meat opportunity. Thank you, Jimmy. That is the best way I've ever heard that phrased yet. A meat opportunity. So what I did, I said, well, Mom, I can't give you cash out of what I've made. That's hard-earned money on my part. I got gas invested. I got time invested. My poor wife, who doesn't really like to do this, I've had her go in and do a few of these to keep my picture off their retinas for a while. We had to keep changing the look. Had to keep changing what these managers were seeing. So Ma goes into one of my local...
And you're a memorable-looking motherfucker, if I do say so myself.
Apparently that's what... And I only weighed 275 back then. I didn't think I was that memorable, but apparently that leads to a Ronnie Millsap story in a bank I'll have to take on the next show that you have me on.
We're going to do that one on the sequel, but go ahead.
Sequel. So she goes in, and voila, it worked exactly like I told her it would. She got $200 and something bucks. Now only she needs a couple hundred more. She's got $450, give or take. to go to Florida and visit Grandma Bolin. Well, we take her to the second store, and she comes out, and I'm sitting out there in my 78 not LTD, but Thunderbird, and all of a sudden I see tears pouring down her eyes. She's crying her goddamn eyes out. And even worse, she has no meat and no money in her hand. She has nothing. I yell at her and say, hey, what the hell's going on? Why are you crying? Kenny, the manager in this store was at the other store, and he recognized me, and they told me if I ever do this again, they're going to lock me up. I said, well, for crying out loud, go back in there and tell them that you returned that to Jimmy Cornette, because I knew you Bill. Tell him you returned that for Jimmy Cornette, and you're terribly sorry about this, but you got confused on the return policy. Then you thought that you were entitled to do that, and tell him that you returned it for Jimmy Cornette, and he'll smooth all this out when he gets back. So she goes back in, let him know that it was you, and I knew you was never coming to Nashville. I know you got hot about it, and you even told Jarrett, but you knew you was never going back to Nashville because Jarrett
Not
wasn't paying
after that.
you.
No, I wasn't. No.
Well, Jarrett wasn't paying you the money you wanted anyway. So she comes back out, and I had to lecture her a little bit. I said, you do realize you fucked up this part of the territory. And me and you, our relationship is going to suffer from this. I'm going to go ahead and give you the money out of my back pocket.
For those who wondered what happened, what caused the downfall of the territory system, it was Ma Bolin not being able to do the meat opportunity problem.
Territory. Because apparently when they got onto her there, they started looking into receipts, they started looking into signatures, they started looking at security cameras, which there weren't a lot of back then, and it just crumbled the whole fucking territory, which led me to have to get into the insurance business.
Yeah, which, as a matter of fact, let me cut you off. There is a whole nother story for another day, but ladies and gentlemen, that is what led to the downfall of the territory system in the meat business, much less the rest of the business.
You don't see it anymore, and Alex is out of a job.
At least there were people that were making more money in the meat opportunity territory business than there were in the wrestling opportunity territory business. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our Christmas week program.
Oh, you got to plug the AC.
Well, hold on. I want to tell everybody, if you want to hear more of Kenny Bolin, and some people like, according to some German videos I've seen, like to have their balls nailed to a step stool. So why wouldn't you want to hear more Kenny Bolin? We want you to write. Alice, are you still? Have you gone to sleep, or have you run?
Signed off.
I am still here.
Okay, Alice, tell the folks. Shut up, Bolin. Tell the folks where they can write to Corny's drive-through to ask questions, and also to say whether they want to hear more Kenny Bolin. Where can they write to?
That will be cornet@mlw.com.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if any of you have stuck with this fucking program long enough to hear the end of this Who Shot John, but if you have, Merry Christmas.
What about KWB at MLW.com? What about
I was about to say, Kenny, before we go, if you would plug all the latest scams or offers that you have going on your Twitter, your Facebook.
Whew, you scared me.
Where can people that are not affiliated with law enforcement get a hold of you to take advantage of your various offers?
I want you to know that a member of the Hillview Fire Department and a part-time police officer has had me as his guest at his home on Christmas. I am no longer wanted by anybody in the federal nation.
Just do your plugs so we can finish this.
Right. Well, this coming Thursday night at the Golden Corral, well, it ain't going to be this Thursday because it's already happened. But future Thursdays at the Golden Corral.
Fucking shit.
Well, you're going to have a chance to get my headphones. I'm doing the dinners. We're going to do those once a month. Go to my Facebook page, Facebook.com/Starmaker Bolin. That's all you got to do. You'll see the updates on any appearances that I'm doing, where you can get your headphones for $29.95, where you can get your T-shirts for $19.95. Of course, shipping and handling and taxes charges apply. And Twitter /Starmaker Bolin. Once again, hell, I don't know if I got much more or not. That's about it. Buy my shirt, buy my DVDs, buy my headphones, especially Beats by Bolin. BEETS, and they're going like hotcakes, and hotcakes are going pretty quick right now because it's cold this time of year. So please buy my headphones.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. From the Edgar Buchanan, the Andy Devine of pro wrestling, my good lifelong friend and pal, Kenny Starmaker Bolin, the king himself, King B. You can find him if you see a car, if you see a black Cadillac driving
Lincoln Town car. I sold the Cadillac.
Sorry, traded in. The black Lincoln Town car with a BS logo on every door, driving around Louisville, Kentucky. That's Kenny Bolin.
That's me.
Find him on the internet, find him on Twitter, find him on Facebook. Just hope the
Golden
law.
Corral, Gaddyland, Hooters, I'm at all Roosters, I'm at all of them.
Yeah, hopefully law enforcement won't find him. And that's the Jim Cornette experience for Christmas week. We'll be back next week with hopefully a program that redeems us for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, until then, for Alice Radley, for the absent Court Bauer, and for Kenny Starmaker Bolin, the biggest man in wrestling, and I mean that literally, this is Jim Cornette for the experience. So long and Merry Christmas. Speaking of a show making you ill and being close to the back door, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today on the program, we couldn't keep him away. There's been a lot of twittering and tweetering about this gentleman, and he has become the most polarizing figure in the history of MLW radio, possibly even professional wrestling. Some people say, you got to have this guy on every week or we're going to riot. Other people say if you ever have him on again, we're not only going to cancel our VIP subscription, but we're going to do everything that we possibly can to take the internet down so that it can never happen again.
I'm
And
so
of course,
glad I sent that email anonymously.
I'm talking about the Star Maker himself. Kenny Bolin is our guest today on the program. So if you want to call a friend, you need to do it now. If you want to get out of town, hit the back door, slip out the back jack, make a new plan stand. Don't need to be Coy Roy. Just get the fuck out of here before he starts talking. We're gonna give the people. As a matter of fact, I think what we ought to do is, Alice, we ought to count to 15 just to give people time to either call their friend or get out of Dodge, because Star Maker Bolin is on the program coming up in now 12 seconds. Why don't you go ahead and start making the contacts? We got 10 seconds left, and we'll see what happens.
You have been warned, folks. You have been warned.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have warned you. You've either called your friends or you've skedaddled out of the place, because we have made the connection on the phone now. Rick from Bolin Manor across town in Louisville, Kentucky, Kenny Starmaker Bolin. How are you doing today, and who have you done it out of?
I'm doing marvelous. I haven't done anything out of anybody, as far as you know. And it is just cracking me up because I can just hear the disdain in your voice. Because I'm gonna tell everybody a little something right now. This thing, I'm telling you, people, started out as an absolute joke, much like Eugene, the character in the WWE. It started out as a joke, and it was set and doomed for failure.
You're talking about our program, the Jim Cornette Experience, is what you're talking about.
Well, I'm not saying the Jim Cornette Experience is a joke. The joke was you ever having me on the show. You were going to show just how little I meant in the wrestling business, just how little I meant to the people, how little people cared about me. And I think it's kind of backfired on you a little bit. I think I've sold more merchandise to your fans than you have.
Oh yeah, by the way, I just found out if you want some official, now with the Beats by Bolin headphones are still available from Kenny Starmaker Bolin, but now he's also selling Cornette Face headphones.
They're going pretty well too. I never dreamed it.
You mean I can have you both on my chest and in my ears?
Yes, but he'll get all the money. That's the point I'm at. I don't sell Kenny Bolin merchandise and keep all the money, but you're selling Jim Cornette merchandise, and because you gave me one set of headphones, you've sold 20 with my face on it, and I get nothing.
Well, no, you did get something. You got the first ever set of Jim Cornette Face headphones. And Frank Regal, my good friend Frank Regal over in Southern Indiana, he come over, and he actually paid, he wanted to pay more than face value. He wanted the most expensive set of Cornette Face headphones ever produced. So we gave him the top of the line ones. You can't even get them here at the alley. It's special order only. He paid $99.95 for the very first order of Cornette Face headphones. And and we've been selling quite a few since then. And what do you want? You got a free set of headphones out of the deal. You got some free label stickers. You got free magnets to put on your vehicle when you're over in London, which I'm also hearing that people are demanding I be there too. Now, what about that? Why don't you fork over a plane ticket? I've worked for a third-year rate ever since I've known you, just because I try to give the people a value.
Yeah, but it'll cost 3 times as much as it'll cost to fly me over there, to fly you over there, because you'll need 3 coach tickets or 2 first-class tickets.
I fit very snugly into one actual, they like to put me in the rear of the back of the plane where they got that extra wide seat. I'm cool with that. I like being in the back of the plane anyway. Don't have to be bothered by anybody. I can catch a nap.
They like to put you in the rear of the plane because with your weight, it throws the balance of the plane off if you're any place else but in the rear. At least that way they can fly with the nose up. If you're in the front, the nose is headed straight down to the ground.
So I sell 20 or 30 measly sets of Cornet Phase headphones, and you got to start throwing the weight thing back in there. After I lose the 144 pounds in 14 months, costing you $1,000 that you weaseled out of the. You don't like to talk about that, do you?
I bet you.
I love ambushing you.
No, well, here.
I weaseled out. Tell everybody.
I'm about to, if you'll quit flapping your fucking gums. Here's the I told you if you lost 100 pounds, if you went on a diet and lost 100 pounds, that I would give you $1,000. However, I did not imagine that you would go to the extent of checking in the hospital and actually having them drain you. You lost 80-something pounds of that weight was pure fluid weight that they drained out of you with a tube. I'm not gonna mention where the tube was placed here on the program. We don't want to get that graphic in your medical business, but the point is, I feel that's an unfair advantage. It's like when the cop pulled me over one time for speeding. I was only going 9 miles over the speed limit, but I had a radar detector, and he said, I'm giving you a ticket because we consider that an unfair advantage. I said, I got a $100 radar detector. You got $2,000 worth of radar, and I've got an unfair advantage?
All right, and I side with you on that. See, I'm siding with you on that. But what I don't side with you on is that you basically said by any means necessary. You agreed in Danny Davis's office. I'm going to tell you when. I'm going to tell you exactly when. It was in Danny Davis's office, me, you, and him, just the 3 of us sitting there. King, you need to drop a few pounds. Here's what we're going to do to motivate you. I'm going to give you $1,000 if you drop 100 pounds. That was out of your gums at first. And then old man Davis sits there. Yeah, I'll back that up. I'll give you $1,000 as well. Well, you know how much of that $1,000 I collected? $2,000, not a goddamn dime. That's exactly how much, because both of you weaseled out of the deal. So what you were going to do is you were going to let me check into a hospital and have gastric bypass surgery like some wrestlers have done. You were going to let them cut 2/3 of my stomach out, and that was cool. We'll give you the money, but because they drain a little piss and vinegar out of me, you don't want to pay the money. Why?
I wish they'd cut 2/3 of your head out. That's what I wish. Let's change this. By the way, thank you very much. You're welcome for the lunch I bought you yesterday when you charged me. Instead of making me those CDs out of the goodness of your heart because of all the things I've done for you, you charged me $10 a piece for those 5 CDs, and then I bought lunch also.
Well, there you go. You tell it a whole different way again. I got you 6 CDs. Did not charge you for the 6th one. Free of charge. Threw it in because I thought you asked for 6. On top of that, you're talking about the meal that you got me. How about the countless? You know I've negotiated for free meals in this town in a record 37 different restaurants. Do you know what the 36th one was? There's 2 I felt I could never get a deal at. One was Carrabba's, which I did, and the 37th one, Clarksville Seafood Shop.
Clarksville Seafood.
Your favorite place on the planet to eat. Jimmy, I was shaking the day that I called them. It was like I was calling the soup Nazi in New York trying to get a free bowl of soup. I was terrified. I didn't want to screw the deal up. I didn't want to be banished from the place. But I took a chance. I negotiated. I gave the people what they wanted. And when is the last time you paid for a piece of fish at Clarksville Seafood? Name the date and time that it happened.
I thank Steve Neer, the owner, our good friend Steve, the owner, who's a great guy, for that.
Who I negotiated with. Thank you.
And almost got us kicked out of the place. Anybody who, by the way, Clarksville Seafood in Clarksville, Indiana, the best fried fish dinner that you will ever have. You can go to jimcornette.com and click on Now with Tomato, my food reviews, and you can get a review of Clarksville Seafood, and Steve Neer, the wonderful owner of that establishment that Kenny Bolin hadn't alienated yet. Let me ask you a question. Let's change the subject. Again, Ma Bolin is living with you. You've taken your mother in. You reported that last time you were on the program.
I did.
You are still charging her rent, I'm assuming.
It's due again on the 12th. We got 4 more days. She pays again. Correct.
It is now, it's been below freezing here in Louisville for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I understand that not only do you make her be the one to go and walk down to get the mail from your mailbox, but also that you refuse to let her set the heat above 60 degrees at night in her room because of the electric bill. Is that true or is that false?
Well, once again, Jimmy, that is false. You tell some falsehoods there. I don't make her go to the mailbox to get the mail. She elects to go down there because basically I refuse to go. There has never been anything in that mailbox that I've cared to get. It's always bad news. Some collector, some hospital bill. I don't pay hospital bills. I have insurance now. And I should have had it before. It ain't my fault that they didn't cover me before. So I ain't paying those hospital bills. They can go blow themselves. The electric bill, that's bad news. The cable bill, that's bad news. I always have to call and negotiate that down. I'm not getting the service that I'm paying for. And I have to spend a lot of time on the phone. So the mailbox to me is nothing but a trip to Bad Newsville. And I don't like going to Bad Newsville. Mom, if there's anything in that mailbox you want, like your bank statement or maybe your prescription drugs that you get sent to you via mail, walk down there and get them. It ain't on me. And so, yeah, she goes down because there's nothing in there I want.
What about giving the poor woman some heat? Giving the poor woman some heat when it's sub-zero, it's the coldest winter in the history of Louisville. You won't let her turn the heat above 60 at night?
Okay, let's do the math there. What was the temperatures around here for the past week or 2, 3 weeks? What were the temperatures? You can name them.
The teens and the 20s and single digits sometimes at night.
Single digits, wind chills below zero. Here's what I do, and I think any smart, educated person can do the same thing. When it is 5 below zero outside, what I do is I step outside the door, stand there on my doorstep for about 15, 20 seconds, step back in and go, God damn, it's warm in here. It's a lot nicer in here. Don't go outside. 60 degrees ain't bad, son. If you was down in Florida and it was 60 degrees, you'd have the windows down and your shirt sleeves on. That's exactly what you'd have. Oh, but in here, it's freezing. Oh, give me some heat.
I will have to side with Mr. Bolin on this. It is 60 degrees here in Los Angeles, and it is shorts and T-shirt weather outside.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I bet you Jimmy's fans will side with me as well. Jimmy's fans have been siding with me at a record level. Of course, you've been putting out the word that it's polarizing.
We've also, for everybody that has written in to say that they want you on the program all the time, there's an equivalent number of people that have written in and saying, get him off the program. We can't stand it. We're going to cancel our membership. You have divided the cult of Cornette. You've divided the listeners. You've divided the father. You've divided pretty much your whole family. You've divided everything. You're a big divider is what you are.
Those people right there are the people you shouldn't want over at the Experience anyway, because they don't want to hear the other side. They're just like Republicans. They don't want to hear the other side. They just know what they believe, what they feel, and they go with it regardless. You are their Rush Limbaugh. You don't want those people, because here I am coming over here. Who would I be? I would be like Bill Maher. I'd be the Bill Maher version of you.
Wait a minute. Now you're doing it. I'm not
stealing your gimmick.
You're stealing my gimmick. It's gimmick infringement. I'm not Rush Limbaugh.
You think you're Bill Maher? You?
Well, certainly not Rush Limbaugh.
The biggest Republican I've ever known?
Don't lie.
You sat over there on the rich side of town, over there in Middletown. I'm over here on the poor side. I'm damn near at the projects because I'm over here a part of the people. I'm one of the blue-collar guys, always have been. I don't flaunt my money. I don't show off. I drive an old car. Yeah, it's a Lincoln Town car, a little pimped out, but it's an old car, not like that brand new thing. Two that you got in yours, you and that wife of yours, 2 brand new vehicles sitting in your $300,000 garage. Your garage costs more than every home I've ever had. Do you realize that? And you try to say you're not a Republican? And your bad day is when you look out and you see ice on your limbs. Oh, Kenny, I got ice on my limbs. I got a limb that's been down touching the ground. I'm sick to my stomach. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I got real problems over here, son. I got a mother I can't get out of this house. I got a mother that keeps fucking with my thermostat. Do you realize she jacked my electric bill up from $68 last month to $144 fucking dollars? I got to pay for that. That's coming out of my pocket. I got real problems over here.
You wouldn't even pay extra at Burger King the other day to get your mother something else for a side besides French fries.
It wasn't offered. It wasn't that I wouldn't pay, and she does get her own money, by the way. She does get a disability check, right in the neighborhood of what I get.
What was your issue then with Burger King that you were ranting and raving about, and you cursed at your mother as a result of this?
I cursed at a lot of people. I cursed at a lot of people. My mother did get in the direction of it because she intervened and ran her lip when she probably should have just stood there and let her son handle the situation. That's what I do, Jimmy. I handle situations.
How could... now, speaking from someone who's never gotten in an argument with any fast food location, I'm just wondering. I'm talking about me. I've never argued with anybody.
You normally go to jail before the argument escalates.
What was your problem with Burger King? You've been ranting.
All right. I'll tell the story if that's what you want. I told you I prefer not to go there because it makes me in a negative light. But I'll tell the story. I told my mother, I dropped her off at the grocery store the other day. She wanted to pick up some things she needed, such as coffee, bread, milk, various items. She saw snow coming down, panicked. So out of the goodness of my heart, I get in my car on a cold day, and I drive her down to the Kroger store. You've been there before. I drop her off. She goes in. She's in there for fucking ever. I'm out in the car watching television, and I'm having to start my car every now and then to keep warm. Because even I'm getting cold. It's goddamn cold outside.
And now, wait a minute. Let me throw something in, ladies and gentlemen. He's not lying. How many TV screens do you have in your car?
4.
Exactly. He's got a driver's screen. He's got a passenger screen. He's got 2 screens in the back. He's got 4 television screens and this pimped out Lincoln Continental with the BS logo on the doors. Looks like a goddamn Nazi staff car coming down the street. Go ahead. Anyway, you're watching TV while she's in Kroger.
I wonder why people...
What this has to do with Burger King, I don't know, but go ahead.
It totally leads into Burger King.
Well...
She says, Kenny, is there anything I can get you while you're in there? I said, you know what, Mom? I said, you haven't been in my home since you were over at Dogwood, and I sent you down there to be with your grandmother before she passed away. Or her mother. It was my grandmother. And... trying to bring back some old good memories for her to send her into Kroger in a good light. I said, here's what I'd like. I said, I would like some Jack Mackerel. I don't know if you've ever had it. Jack Mackerel's kind of a poor people's food, Jimmy. It's only like a couple of bucks a can. You put some cracker and eggs in it, and it is some of the best damn stuff you ever had. But you, being silver spoon fed, you may have never had Jack Mackerel in your life. But poor people love Jack Mackerel. Those people can relate with me out there. So I wanted some. So I said, get me some Jack Mackerel. I want you to know that old bitch Mom comes out of Kroger and forgets one thing. What does she forget, Jimmy?
The Jack Mackerel.
The Jack fucking Mackerel. So now I'm pissed. I've been sitting out here freezing for a fucking hour and a half, waiting for her to come back with the Jack Mackerel so we can have a good dinner at night. So now that puts me on the spot. She says, well, Kenny, you got some Burger King coupons in your glove box. Why don't you take me to Burger King? Because she spotted a dinner for 2 for $6.99. I said, well, I'm thinking, all right, I got that thing in the mail today, and there was some extra cash there. A little found money. All right, I'll take you to Burger King. I'll spring for the $6.99 for both of us. So I drive her to Burger King out of my way. Now, we're not even factoring in gas miles and everything here, the inconvenience that I've now been put through. Instead of sitting in my home having Jack Mackerel prepared for me, I now got to drive her to Burger King. So we go over there by Meijer. You know where it's at. You've shopped over there off Hurstbourne Lane. Heavy traffic and everything.
There's a lot of traffic.
Finally get her to Meijer in a goddamn pouring down snowstorm. We walk in there, and I hand them the coupon. And this thing gets worse as it goes, Jimmy. This was a terrible day for me. You think your limbs falling down or irking at you. I hand them the coupon book, and I said, here's what I want, guys. I said, my mother does not like the special sauce. She wants her burger made a certain way. We'll get that in a minute. Let's take care of me first. I want everything you can put on that goddamn hamburger, and those fries, that says small fries, I want large fries. They look at me, Jimmy, and they say, well, we can't do that. I said, well, the last time I came to Burger King, y'all had a motto called "Have it your way." Well, my way is that I want 2 large fries. I'm a man of some wealth. I've got a little money of my own. I don't flaunt it like Cornette does, but I'll pay for large fries. That's okay. I'll pay for the supersized fries. Well, we don't have anything on our computer that'll let us do that. We cannot upgrade them for you. I said, get me a manager. So they get me a manager. I said, hey, I don't want to cause any problems here today, but this is Burger King. You have it your way. I want 2 large fries with my meal. My mother interjects while I'm trying to negotiate. I'm trying to negotiate the fry deal here.
In good faith.
She interjects, and I was doing this in good faith. She interjects and says, hey, Kenny, don't worry about it. You can have my fries. I said, Mom, stay out of this. I was taking your fries anyway. You don't like French fries. And I said, you don't like...
Ma Boland has never liked French fries.
No, she's never liked French fries. She's never liked onion rings. You would think a woman of her size and girth would like fried foods, but apparently she doesn't, and it's throws me off, to be honest with you. So I said, so stay out of this, Mom. I'll handle this deal. I'm going to get my French fries. I'm going to get them my way, and you order your burger the way you want it, and your soft drink. So I go back to trying to negotiate. I said, guys, I want my large fries. What are we going to do about this? I said, I'll pay the difference. Well, sir, we don't have a key for that, but here's what we could do. We could give you 1 large and 1 small and charge you the difference. I said, isn't that kind of what I asked for to begin with? But I don't want 1 large and 1 small. I haven't eaten all day. It's 7 o'clock at night. I want 2 large fries. What are we going to do about it? They look at me, well, we can't do that. So now so Mom, once again, interrupts again. Kenny, don't worry about it. You can have my fries. I said, Mom, I've told you. I'm taking your fries. Your fries are gone. They're out of the equation. I'm going to have your fries. Stay out of this, Mom. Let me handle this. So I turned my attention back to them. I want my large fries. What are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade you to 2 large fries, and we're going to charge you the difference. I said, that's what I've been trying. She said, Kenny, you don't need. I said, Mom, will you shut the fuck up? I said, goddamn. I'm trying to fucking get 2 goddamn fucking large fries here at fucking Burger King where you're supposed to have it fucking your way, and I ain't getting my fucking way. They're fucking with me. Now you're fucking with me. I said, so now what you can do is you can order your burger the way you want it. You ain't getting no fucking fries. You ain't getting no fucking onion rings. Why? Because you don't like them. And don't ask for anything else, because now you pissed me off. So now you're going to eat your burger. You're going to drink your Coke. You're going to sit there and not talk to me because now you pissed me off, and the people at Burger King have pissed me off. Well, I want you to know when I reach down to get my coupon to pay for my meal, I can't find my coupon. My coupon books are gone. I had a book, Jimmy, that was worth about $50 in savings towards buy one, get one free items at Burger King, and now I got nothing.
I know you have a lockbox where you keep coupons for every restaurant that in town, stacks of them.
That I can't, or they're not allowed to. I mean, I'm not diminishing my negotiating skills. I can negotiate with anybody, but some restaurants just flat out have a policy: we do not barter, we do not trade, we do not negotiate. Burger King is one of those places.
So there you got the coupon. But now, where did your coupon book go?
I don't know. So now that leads us to another problem. I said, guys, I'm in here prepared for $6.99 dinner for 2. For the meal here, I can't find my coupon book. I just had it in my hand. I said, you all reached out and tore the coupon out and handed me, where's my coupon? Well, we can't find the coupon. Where's my book? We don't see the book. That's why I tell you what we're going to do. You got fucking surveillance cameras all over this goddamn place. And when there's a robbery, you all check the film. So here's what we're going to do. And this is the God's honest truth, people. I am not embellishing one fucking word of what I'm telling you here. This is what fucking happened. I said, you're going to go back there, you're going to get that film, you're going to see who stole my fucking coupon book, you're going to get me my coupon rate for the food that I just bought, or there's going to be some serious fucking trouble around here, because there's been a fucking robbery. I have been robbed of at least $50, and I want to know who did it. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but number one, you're going to have to tone down the language. I said, well, y'all are going to have to tone up the service. I said, I get shitty service, you get shitty language. I said, so now what are we going to do? Are we going to get back here in a surveillance room or not? They said, well, we could, but it won't do no good. I said, well, explain that to me. Well, the camera's cut off at the counter. They cut off at the counter. So in other words, if the coupons fell on your side of the counter, you know where they're at, right? Uh-huh. But if they fell on this side, you don't know, right? Uh-huh. So in other words, if I walked in here with a gun and stood behind the counter and pointed at you and said I want 4 Whoppers and 4 Big Kings to go, you ain't got no footage. You ain't got no evidence. I said, you've just revealed a weakness in your system here. That is stupid for you to do that. But if I jump over the counter and rob you and steal my Big Macs and my Big Kings. Now, we got trouble.
Wait a minute. I got news for you. If you were to jump over any kind of counter, they would put that footage on network television.
I figured you'd have to get a jab in there somewhere.
All right. Well, where could the coupons have gone? Was there anybody else around?
Scoured the place. A lady suspiciously walked in right after me and had a coupon book, identical to mine, that I've had stored in a cabinet here, Jimmy, under surveillance since December, waiting for the opportune moment to use it, and this was the day. So not only did I have to buy this old bag's food and minus the...
Well, wait a minute. The woman that came in... Was there a coupon torn from her book? Did you examine it? Did you hold her?
I did not hold her down. I didn't yank her book. I thought that might be pushing it a little far. I thought it might be risking going to jail for myself, because unlike you, sometimes I intervene and take the high road and don't go to jail for an altercation at a fast food restaurant. I elected not to go. And no, I did not yank the book from her hand to see if one was missing. But even though now that you mention that, makes me wonder if I should have. Because I left there minus a book, had to pay full price for my food, and it absolutely fucking ruined my day, and I had to sit there and tell Mom just to shut up and not talk to me because I was irritated so badly. And that basically it's all her fault, because she hadn't got me so rattled over, kept saying, well, you can have my French fries, and a lot of this shit probably wouldn't have never happened. So basically, I got to blame her. And then my fucking electric bill gets jacked up to $144 a month. She accused me of turning the heat up. Well, let me tell you something, Jimmy. One thing you know about me, you've known me your whole life. I don't turn the heat up. The heat goes down.
I can vouch for that. No, Alice, you know how he actually heats his bedroom in the wintertime?
Do tell.
He sleeps with a giant black Labrador.
That's
Giant.
almost cute.
She's a measly 107 pounds. And, of course, I had Jackson.
That's a pretty big
weighed
dog.
8 pounds, yeah.
That's the fattest dog I've ever seen. That dog has to weigh 150. Its head is the size of Buddy Wayne's head.
Good Lord.
That dog has to weigh 150 pounds.
Nothing but I took her down to the kennel, not the kennel, but the Valley Station place there to get the shots, to get the dog.
Oh, the veterinarian. Oh, when the dog was sick. It's another thing. When his poor dog was sick, had black gunk coming out of its ears and had an eye infection, he insisted that the veterinarian give him expired medicine because it was cheaper. He could get it for half price because it was expired.
Half price. It was 75% off, and I called some authorities on that, and that medicine still had 5 days of good use left. It was just past the date that they like to sell it. So I saved 75%. That's a lot of fucking money. Can you imagine if you saved 75% on your plane tickets to go to London? What a substantial savings that would be. I could have probably got you that deal if you'd have took me with you.
Believe me, if I'd have took you with me, I have a feeling I wouldn't come back. There'd be some international incident. I don't know whether behavior like this is tolerated in foreign countries like it is in the United States of America.
Well, it wouldn't put it past me if you and I shared a room or something for you to try and put a pillow over my head and you go to jail for murder. I can see that happening. You just don't understand when you're being helped sometimes.
You're the one that tried to get me to put your Howl at the Moon Sun cat box in my will. Against my will, and then I was afraid you were going to try to push me off something as soon as I did that, so of course I did not do it.
I was looking out for his best interest. I can't live forever, Jimmy. I'm a man of excessive weight. I'm a man of 50. I'll be 54 here March the 16th. I don't, I know I got less than probably 30 or 40 years left on this planet, but my son, he's got a good shot at making it to 100, 110 years old. He eats healthy. He's a vegan. He doesn't eat some of the bad foods that I've eaten over the years. My mother's beans and cornbread, her fried taters, her chili with the hamburger grease still left in it, which I didn't find out till I was 27. A little too late then. He's got a good shot, and you're his godfather, and you have a lot of things.
You named every single person that you knew. You named them his godfather when he was born, on the theory that some way or another he'd get more presents and or more inheritances.
No, that's a fucking lie. Let me set the people straight. I named Dennis Condrey his god uncle. Dennis Coraluzza, because they were both Dennises, would be easy to keep up with. God uncle. Bobby Eaton, god cousin. Sherry Martell, god aunt. Well, unfortunately, some of these people have passed away, and they didn't leave Christopher a damn thing. So that has created a bit of a problem there. So now the burden's kind of on you. You're the one that we know that has a rather healthy savings account set aside. You got all those stocks and bonds. You got all that property.
Despite knowing you for 40 years, I've still managed to maintain some of my money.
All right, let's go there for a second. Let's educate the people one more time. This is why, if I'm not entitled to a lofty percentage of your income, and I think the people are going to side with me when they hear this, at least my son is, because when I first met you, Jimmy, and let's tell the God's honest truth here, let's shoot, as they like to call it, what basically did you do every fucking day of your life? I'll tell the people, you lived in an attic because you were an antisocialite. You didn't like dealing with people. You didn't even like being around your own family. Your aunts and uncles came over and you run and hid. You didn't want to be around them. You hid up in your attic, and you were so delusional as to what people were about, even when you met me as a new friend. And this is what I liked about you. And this is where I guess if you do die before me and I speak at your funeral, this is going to be one of the things I liked about you. Is that you trusted me, because you up there on that floor, you was that big shot photographer down at the Louisville Gardens, and sometimes in your floor you would have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in cash laying on your bedroom floor, just scattered about like it was garbage. And of course, in my house, the most money you ever saw laying anywhere was about $1.84.
Wait a minute, I brought cash. It was a cash business in those days, and I brought cash back, but I didn't just strew it around the house like garbage, just like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Tight Pockets Court Bauer, the head of MLW Radio, has a money bin like Scrooge McDuck. I didn't have a money bin. I had piles of money because I was gainfully employed, unlike you.
It was a cash pay. It wasn't long after I met you that I got motivated and I went to work for Mallory Taylor Hospital. Had you drive me there on the weekends that I felt like working, and I started putting some cash away.
I guarantee you called in sick 3/4 of the time that you worked there, because I was watching you do it.
You're my buddy. You were there. You didn't feel like getting up early in the morning at 6 a.m. to take me to work, coming back at 2 p.m. to pick me up and take me home. I was looking out for you.
All right. Well, wait, but
But what I'm saying is where I was trying to go is why I think I deserve some of your money, and a lot of it is that I took you from that shy little boy who was scared of everybody, hiding up in that attic, didn't want to deal with anybody, trusted even me. You didn't know me from Adam. That was the first time I'd ever been in your house. Thousands of dollars laying in your floor, knowing I'm dirt poor, and then you walk off to the bathroom trusting me with all your cash. And I want you to know, I'm going to tell you right now.
I was naive, wasn't I? I was naive at the time.
I just want to tell you right now, I took very, very little of that money. Even though I could have probably took half and you would have never noticed it, I only took enough to get by.
Well, I want to thank you for that. I really do. I want to thank you for that. And also, you mentioned talking at my funeral, speaking at my funeral, and I just want to tell Alice.
I'd like to do that tomorrow, if at all possible.
One time, Alice, actually, this happened last year when he was in ill health, and then I got sick shortly after that. He said to
you talk about the buzzards circling the wagons. Yeah, go ahead and tell that story, Jimmy.
This said to me, he said, Jimmy, he said, I just want you to know that I hope that you die before I do, because I know that you wouldn't be able to go on living life without me.
Well, so how generous.
That's a thoughtful statement right there, if you ask me. That was a big sacrifice on my part. To leave me behind with the burden, missing you, missing all the good times, all the fun times we had as kids. Maybe not so many in our adult lives, but I remember the childhood memories. And I'll go on remembering those. Unlike you, who every time you talk about me on the radio, you talk about the few little negative things we've had. And whenever people get me to tell a Jimmy Cornette story, I'll talk about the zombie walk that we had there at the funeral home. I'll talk about the time I threw you in the trunk of my car and drove you around it. And yeah, the oxygen got a little low, but I got you out in time. And also got you into movies for free there at the Lakeview. So it all worked out.
So anyway, let's switch gears a little bit, because I know that you have been keeping up with what's going on in the state of Kentucky, because you're politically inclined like I am, especially around the state of Kentucky, because you want to see what administration you're going to be able to take advantage of next. And last week on the program, Alice brought it up. She had been reading about it. Of course, Governor Beshear has given $37 million to this idiot that's starting this creation museum, and it's going to cost about $150 million if they can raise all the money. I know that you wish you could have got to the governor for a grant before they did, because you would have come up with at least something a little less preposterous than a creation museum stating that the world is 6,000 years old and humans and dinosaurs coexisted.
Well,
how did you miss that trick of getting that much money out of the state for something so ridiculous?
I blame myself, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I really did not think that there was anybody of beyond sixth grade education, of beyond the mental capacities of a Jethro Bodine, that would believe that this earth is only 6,000 years old. I just did not think it was humanly possible, and I really thought that it was like the day that I called Clarksville Seafood to negotiate for free food. I didn't think it could be done. I didn't think people were that stupid. I didn't think people were that naive and that foolish. But our governor has shown us quite a different path. That he thinks that the earth is only 6,000 years old. And then you would donate $37 million towards the potential $150 million so people can ride Tyrannosaurus Rexes and Velociraptoruses. I just didn't think it was possible.
So how did you miss out on that score? When you heard about it, you should have got in there and said that you could build a bowling museum for all the great bowlings down through history, like your father.
Ulysses S. Bolin, he was a great one.
What was that your grandfather?
That was a great grandpa. Great
grandpa Ulysses Bolin. He's the one that fought on both sides in the Civil War, right?
I tell you what, you got to take your hat off to him. He saw things starting to go south on the southern side. That's
no pun intended.
Where the term "going south" came from. He invented it. He said things are going south. I got to switch, and he switched teams right there on the other side. I mean, if you could do that in baseball and football, do you think there ain't Broncos that are lapped up right now that wish they weren't as smart as Ulysses S. Bolin and could have at halftime merged over to the Seattle side of things?
I don't know about switching sides. I heard he was fighting for both sides at the same time, is the way I heard it. That was one time a long time back.
That's a negative spin right there. I don't think that, none of us were there, Jimmy, so who knows? We only know what was written. And Ulysses S. Bolin, in my opinion, was a great man. He didn't like how things were going for the South. He switched sides and emerged the victor. And I don't think you can ask for anything more than that. Look him up, guys. Ulysses S. Bolin. He was a great man.
Yeah. Have you talked to your brother Biscuits and Gravy lately?
I have.
What's going on with Tim?
Well, I invited him to come down and have dinner with me the other day. I tried to throw what do you call it, a hatchet at him. Bury the hatchet's what I was.
You tried to bury the hatchet.
I tried to bury the hatchet right in the center of his big skull is what I wanted to do. But he was a little short on money. He had been at the boat and had...
Wait a minute, what would he need money if you invited him down for dinner?
Well, because he lives in Carrollton, and it's 44 miles from his exit to mine. That is you can do the math with me here, Jimmy. He can't, but you can. It's an 88-mile round trip. And in the vehicle he drives, that's about a tank of gas. A tank of gas for him is in the neighborhood of about $58 to fill up because he's got some vehicles that don't do so well.
I've seen the last vehicle he was driving. I was actually following him, and pieces were falling off of the car while we were on the interstate.
That is the God's honest truth. Jimmy does not lie this time. That is exactly what happened. And Timmy John drives a thing, Bo Biscuits and Gravy. He drives a thing that looks like an ice cream truck. And I thought he was up to no good because he, like me, I have a motto that's sometimes misconstrued to where I help so many young kids, especially since I got my fame and got into the wrestling business. I started helping young, innocent children. And I come up with a phrase by accident on the television show once that Kenny Bolin has his finger in the youth of America. And that got turned around a little bit, and then some people, like you, tried to make a negative spin on that. Well, Timmy John is driving around. He has a fondness for the young ones, too, just quite in a different way that I do. And then I'm seeing him driving around in a thing that looks like an ice cream truck. What do kids love more than anything in a goddamn world, Jimmy?
Ice cream.
Yeah, and what do they go to get that ice cream? the ice cream truck.
But that was a panel van with windows painted black and a decal of an ice cream cone on the side of it. Nobody would think that was a legitimate ice cream truck.
No trained adult, but a little kid would know different. And he would think there's ice cream in there. So we suspected some naughty things from Old Biscuits and Gravy. But now that van is falling apart. I invited him down for dinner. I knew he needed a break, so I was throwing him a bone. I was going to hook him up with one of my free meals. And here's what he laid on me. Well, can you buy some of my artwork from me? Listen to this shit. He now goes on the internet and prints out, and I hope I ain't getting him any big trouble here. But
I don't really think you probably care if you do, apparently at this point, but go ahead.
He prints out copyrighted material on his printer. He went out and bought one of these executive printers. I don't know how he got it, but he did. He got an executive printer that prints out like 20 by 30 poster size pictures, and he prints out pictures of John Wayne, Daniel Boone, great Kentuckians of American history, great Western stars. I think even Hoss Cartwright, he's got a few of him. He prints them out, puts them in frames, and sells them down at the auction. Well, here's the thing, Jimmy. This is in Carroll County, Shelby County, Henry County, Trimble County. Do you know what the education level is for those people out there? Anybody that got past, there's a term out there called what is long and hard on anybody from east of LaGrange, Kentucky, and it's called third grade. So these people are not very.
Yeah, you're insulting a large segment of the population of Kentucky.
About half of it.
I just want to make sure we were clear on that. Okay, go ahead.
Clear. And these dumb fucks out there in Trimble, Henry, Oldham, Carroll counties, where these auctions that he goes to, you notice he don't come down here to where the education level's a little higher and they're going to be onto a scheme. He stays out there with the stupid people. And he just happens to be a notch smarter than most of the stupid people he's dealing with out there. And he's selling these paintings that he's copying off the internet as originals. A Daniel Boone original, a Hoss Cartwright original, a John Wayne original. And people are bidding up to $75 to $100 on these pictures that he's only got a couple of bucks in. And
well, I've got to say, I think that's reprehensible of a person to take copyrighted material and produce cheap bootleg ripoffs and then sell it for an inflated price to an innocent, unsuspecting victim. I don't know what kind of human being would possibly. Well, never mind.
I knew you would agree with me, and that's why I would tell you what he was up to, and then maybe you and I can have an intervention with him. Show him how to live life. Show him how to live life the right way, the way that you and I do, as retired.
We'll have to. I'll have to get a word in edgewise here, and we'll have to sit down and talk to him and show him the error of his ways, and then I'm sure to make sure that he doesn't backslide and make sure he doesn't fall off the wagon from this bootleggery. That you'll be glad to take all the stuff that he has left and take it away from him, so he's not tempted to sell that stuff again, and you can take it home and sit on top.
What I'll do? You know what I'll do? I will take that. I'll bring it down here to Louisville, Kentucky. I will donate to some of the fine charities around here. That will generate me some more money to put back into the youth of America, because the bowling alley is growing by leaps and bounds. The Bowling Foundation is bigger than it's ever been. Not only do I have my finger in the youth of America, I'm going to expand that, and I'm going to start inserting not one, but two, maybe three fingers into the youth of America. Eventually, I hope to have my entire fist of the youth of America and save all the children. That is my eventual goal.
Alice,
feel uncomfortable.
Help me, Alice.
Aren't you glad you're not a kid anymore, Jim?
Oh, listen,
It's a great time to be a kid. I'm here to help you. I'm here to save you.
Before we go,
What's your hurry?
This
projects I'm working on.
This may be the last Jim Cornette Experience program. Before we go, I'm going to enlighten you as to something I'm going to be doing in March, and I challenge you. I'm going to be watching TNA wrestling on not every week. Not every week. Now listen.
What did you say?
Oh no, it went to the second one.
Just listen to me.
Where did Jimmy go, Alice?
Damn.
Jimmy on
So
Yes, he is.
it's been like 2 hours.
Just listen. I'm not every week, but I'm going to take it upon myself, the burden, of watching TNA wrestling so I can review it for the listeners of the Cult of Cornette and wrap the program up in
This is a nice short one right here.
And we got this email, and we want to address this as efficiently, as quickly, and as professionally as possible. And I will read this. Hi, guys. My name is Max, and I'm emailing from Columbus, Ohio. I'm a longtime listener and big fan. Thanks for having such great content for all this time, and especially thank you for providing so much of it for free for so long. I remember back when it was just the Conan show, and even since then, you've had the best wrestling product that's out there. The only reason that I'm emailing you guys at all is because of how outright terrible the Cornette show is. This last episode with whoever this asshole is who's babbling about eating at Burger King for 10 minutes straight, fuck! It just seems like a real shame to blow what could be such a great podcast off on such shit as whoever this guest is that keeps popping up. I listened to the first couple of episodes that had this dickhead on them with my fingers crossed that he wouldn't show up again, and now here they are saying people are writing in wanting him to be a regular guest. Who the fuck are these people? I'm guessing they're the same people who were really happy about Cornette ranting about Family Guy for hours on end. Ugh. Anyway, hope you guys are all doing well. Tell Cornette to get that boring prick off the air ASAP, or else I'm never listening to that show again. Otherwise, keep up the good work on the other shows. They are greatly appreciated. Max from Columbus. Well, you know, Max, we here at The Experience value all of our criticisms, complaints, and comments from the listeners and from the Cult of Cornette, and we wanted to address this as efficiently and as profoundly as we possibly could. And as a matter of fact, we chose the person best representative of your letter to answer this for you now. So, ladies and gentlemen, to rebut Max from Columbus, Ohio, and deal with his problems, direct on the phone is Kenny Starmaker Bolin. Kenny, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you. Holy shit! What a horrible thing for an individual to say about another individual who does not know said individual. So I'm going to address him personally right here, real quick, right now. Max,
As an individual.
Max, if that is your real name, because who the fuck is named Max anyway? In this day and age, how old is this motherfucker? Fuck you, Max. Fuck you and the goddamn camel you rode in on. How dare you say these derogatory things about me? How dare you insult the integrity of the Cornette show for having the decency to give the viewers and the listeners what they want? They can't view yet because we're not video. But how fucking dare you? And where are you from? Fucking Columbus? Fucking Ohio? If you was ever going to give the world an enema, you would stick the nozzle right in Columbus, Ohio.
Do you think it's that bad? Is it that bad?
Oh, and if that ain't bad enough, he's surrounded by fucking pitifulness. Dayton, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Holy, come on. And he should be dying to listen to this show every week, to be educated by the likes of you, educated by the likes of me. But what's he do? He gets on there and he writes a big letter, upset that he's hearing me every week. Well, apparently he likes it. Apparently he's learning something. Because as you noticed, he's writing it every single week. Every week he wants to hear more. But
I think it's an abusive relationship between you and Max from Columbus. I think he listens despite the pain.
there's only two other fucking people I know on the goddamn planet Earth that were ever named Max. That was Maxwell Smart and Max Baer, who played Jethro. Two fucking barely functional dumbasses named Max.
Actually,
So
Max Baer that played Jethro was Max Baer Jr. He was the son of former heavyweight boxing champion Max Baer Sr., and Max Baer Jr. was actually noted as a very intelligent man, an agent, a producer, and a deal maker around Hollywood. He retired quite wealthy.
Well, you and two other people on the planet Earth would know that. Everyone else knows him as a cornflake-eating cornflakes. That's what he had, and a big-ass giant bowl with Granny Clampett. That's what people fucking know Max as.
I really wish we could get Kenny to open up more.
Columbus. Yeah, tell us your real feelings. What is this?
Well, he's obviously a cocksucker, and I got no problem with cocksuckers. Don't get me wrong.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
If you're sucking cock for money, okay, I understand that. You got to feed your family. But when you're doing it for pure fucking pleasure, like Max in Ohio does, I got a problem with that.
Well, wait a minute. Let's slow it down. I do that for pleasure.
He's a
myself,
pleasure.
so-
He's a pleasure. Well, you suck cock for pleasure because you like cock.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he is sucking cock. As a low-life piece of shit.
Wait a minute.
but
Out of
it's,
boredom. He's bored because there's nothing
yes,
to do in a
he
mile.
doesn't like it.
Mason Dixon line. There's nothing happening up there, and he's a low-life piece of shit who sucks cock for pleasure, not for
Listen to
money.
me.
And Alice, I know for a damn fact you've sucked cock for money before. You got dinner out of it, and that's money.
I'm going to
Kenny,
take control of this
Kenny.
program. Now, just both of you, just stop it. I'm going to take control of this program. I think we've decided that
My
Max...
nurse is sitting here. My nurse is my blood pressure's through the roof right now. Just 199 over 159. What the fuck?
But you...
I got you riled up. My nurse is here. You don't suck cock for pleasure, do you?
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
It's true. We had to get a nurse. In order for Kenny to make this particular rebuttal, we needed to get a nurse on hand to make
God
sure.
damn. My blood pressure's through the fucking moon right now. You know me, Jimmy. I'm normally 128 over 75. He's got me where he may... Can we sue him for defecation of character?
Well, you had a lawyer around, so.
Well, my lawyer's in the other room getting paid. Getting paid. He's in there. He's. Well, I can't tell you what it's about right now, but we'll talk about it later. But I have the attorney here for a reason.
All right, but let me just interject here for a moment.
Fuck you, Max. If I didn't cover that, but go ahead.
We've wrapped up with Max from Columbus. Apparently, we've established that he sucks dick because he's bored. He's not even really gay, so he's lower on the social circle because of that. Because when you suck dick just because you're bored, it's
Elizabeth, don't wrap that leg. Wrap my other leg. Not that leg. My other leg.
But anyway, before you go on with your nolo contendres and your double entendres.
Do not apply the lotion to that leg during the show. You know that excites me. Let's hold off here. Now, all right, go ahead, Jim.
We just called you up so that you could reply to Max from Columbus, and you've done that. You have your nurse there. We'll let you go so you can have your service done in peace.
No, ain't nobody letting me go because I'm supposed to be on for the whole show. After the fans have spoken, I see the emails, I see the letters. I wanted to talk about the confusion about my finger in the Youth of America. There's been some confusion. I would like to answer that if you don't mind.
On the program here 3 weeks ago that you had your finger firmly in the Youth of America. I don't know how that can be confusing in any way.
So what I want to do is I want to state that was taken out of context because Jimmy, you know me, I'm a thoughtful, caring, loving man. Why are you laughing? Jesus freaking Christ! I can't get any respect anywhere. So
to the point.
What I've done is people have labeled me as a soul searcher. And when I find these young girls, and I don't like helping the guys because I've always said guys can help themselves. So what I've always done for quite a while, and you've known me, Jimmy, I go out looking for young girls.
I've known you to do this quite a number of times, yes.
I look for young girls that need help, and I am a soul searcher. And what I do, and this is how my finger in the Youth of America came to be, because I place my fingers on these young girls, and I search for their souls. And once I find the soul, I insert my finger into that soul.
You only got arrested twice for that.
I never have been arrested for that. So when I place
I think the answer lies in the middle. It was actually never prosecuted, but go ahead.
When I place my finger into their soul, it seems to do something for them. It seems to bring them great pleasure. And they like that, and they kind of look at me as a father figure. And but what I've noticed is that I've looked for older girls to search their souls. Sometimes they have multiple souls. And I've had to insert 1, 2, and then sometimes 3 fingers into their souls to bring them the same pleasure that I bring the younger girls who only maybe have the one soul.
Yeah.
So I am a soul searcher, and I look to fill their souls with my fingers. I have
completely up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you said it.
Which every woman loves.
To the brim, literally.
Every woman, but some of the older ones that I've started trying to help, and past 19, 20, 21. And I'm going to have to cut back because that's where it got to be 4 fingers, 5 fingers, the whole fist, and sometimes even that wasn't enough. And I've had to back off of that.
How many wristwatches have you lost?
You're trying to make something dirty out of this, Alice. I would expect that out of you.
He actually doesn't wear one. He doesn't. He does
souls, not holes, you dirty little woman.
He doesn't wear a watch because he's so stupid he doesn't know what time it is.
I know what time it is. According to
what
Canada.
Time is it?
I listened to the mayor up in Canada. He said to set my clocks back an hour, and people are still saying I'm late. I mean, I'm notoriously late anyway, but I just did what the good mayor in Canada said to do. He told everybody to set their clocks back an hour, and I did what he said.
All right.
Would know.
Let me ask you one thing before we get off here for this edition of The Experience.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm getting fucked on this episode. I promised all my fans that I would be on for the entire show, that you all needed me.
Well, you'll have to call both of them and tell them. But I want to ask you about the cards. Everybody knows if you want to know about Louisville basketball here in this town, you got to talk to King B, Kenny Bolin, the Star Maker. What can we expect after the Cards' dominant victory last week? What can we expect in the tournament?
You know, it's like I told everybody all along. Way back when the Kentucky Wildcats got fortunate and beat us by 7, I told you right there in your own home, hey, they got lucky. They played the game of a lifetime. Louisville played as bad as they could. They only beat us by 7. Don't worry about Louisville. We're going to win the championship come March and April, not in November and December. And has the prophecy come true? We've won 11 of the last 12. We absolutely went down there to SMU, down there, the biggest game ever in the history of the state of Texas, the highest ticket prices for any game ever, including Kentucky Baylor and that big-ass football stadium that Dallas plays in, the most highest ticket prices. Even the NBA championship game by the Dallas Mavericks, the Louisville ticket prices were $50 higher per ticket than any game ever held in that state. They ramped up for it. They were
I've heard they were big ticket prices.
They were undefeated, amped up for it. They couldn't wait to get Louisville down there so they could add us to the list because they were undefeated. Well, that didn't work out so well for them. They got us down 26-12. It looked bad. It looked like doom and gloom. And the mighty Cardinals charged back, took a 27-26 lead, never looked back, beat them by 13 points on their home floor with George Bush, that fucking Republican, sitting there.
Did I ask you to recap the entire season or to give us a look at what's going to go on in the tournament?
No, just the last 2 games against top 25 teams. So then UConn, the team that beat the Kentucky Wildcats for the national championship just 2 or 3 years ago, they come in to our home, the Yum Center, down there where we make all that fried chicken. They come in there flapping their gums, talking about how they was going to beat us right down there on our home floor. What happened to them? You know, you saw the score, Jimmy. You and I were out settling up some debt. We had debt to settle. You watched it with me.
I was buying you dinner, whereupon before we even got our menus handed to us, you had sold 2 sets of your headphones.
Well, I sold something over that night at Roosters, but that's neither here nor there. The headphones are going great, by the way, guys. Kenny Bolin at MSN.com is where you PayPal me at. You know, another set that's selling good are those
walking by and you pulled them over. You pulled them over, and they were walking right by the table, and you pulled them over.
They were obviously Cardinal fans. They were Cardinal fans. I know they were, and that's why I pulled them over and sold them some headphones. They were happy. You saw the thrill in their face.
You sold the custom set, Bolin Services on one side, Cornet Face on the other side. I know that.
Well, I sold 3 sets of those today, even in the wireless version for a mere $59.95, a little bit of shipping and handling. You too can have Kenny Bolin on one side and Jimmy Cornette on the other. Alice, that's a fantasy of yours, isn't it?
If we could only have somebody talk about the Cardinals.
Well, I am talking about the Cardinals. We beat them by, 38 points. Beat them like redheaded stepchildren. No offense, my nurse is redheaded. Beat them like redheaded stepchildren. Fucked them all up and down the court. We was up by 40. We put the subs in, the third string team with about 8 minutes to go, and they ran it up about another 15 or 20 minutes.
I heard the mascot did well.
The mascot came in. He didn't do bad. He went 3 of 3 from the arc. He had 6 rebounds and 4 assists. The water boy came in. He went 0 for 3, but he did have a couple of assists, and he played good defense.
So what do you think about the tournament? What's coming up?
Well, we got the conference tournament coming up down there in Memphis. It looks like on our side of the board it's going to be a clean sweep. Everybody we played, we've already beat the shit out of. We're just laying back waiting for the championship game, probably against Memphis is what we're looking at. Possibly Cincinnati. I'm leaning on Memphis because those fuckers have beaten us twice by the skin of their teeth. I say this is the time we put them in their place right there on their home floor down there in the Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee, the home of Jerry the King Lawler, where Monday Night Raw was last night. Did you say you had a review you'd like to give? Or I guess I missed out on that because you all did that part of the show without me.
Oh, we did
Impact, yes.
Oh, you did Impact. All right,
Yeah.
well, I'll review on Raw next week. That's my job anyway, right? I'm
Yeah.
Am I back?
Because you want more money to have to watch Impact. I know you do.
It did just occur to me.
would.
I do a weekly Raw review. Could I get the Star Maker to review Raw with me on RWR Podcast? Could that happen?
Oh, Jesus Christ, don't encourage him.
I think we could work out some type of possible deal there,
I
Alice.
do believe my audience would love it.
I think, well, Jimmy's audience loves it too. He just has a little trouble admitting it. He fucked me on this week's show, though. I
You
don't
know
take
what-
kindly
you know
being
what I-
Friday to bring up the rear of the show. I ain't
Right
the
now-
Jackass
Oh,
team.
You're our closer, Kenny. You're our closer.
Oh,
Right,
I'm the
right now, it's the Jim Cornette experience. Can I interject something? Right now, I want to give my audience what they want. I want to give them the end of this program. Thank you very much for being a part of it, and thank you for answering Max from Columbus, and thank you and fuck you, Max. And as a matter of fact, next
Fuck you, man.
he's still babbling. I don't know what he said. Can you hear? I don't know what he's saying.
Pleasure. That's what I said about Max.
I've got his microphone overruled. I don't know what
Not
he's
for
saying.
fun. He sucks cock for pleasure. I just want to point that out.
Well, I thought it's just because he was bored. But anyway, for Alice Radley, at Alice Radley, and Jim Cornette, myself, at the Jim Cornette, and Kenny Starmaker Bolin, at
Get my headphones. Get my headphones.
the local police station.
No, I'm not there. Star Maker Bowling on Facebook. Go there, check out the headphones, various different combinations. PayPal me at KennyBoland at MSN.com. Thousands of you have. Most of your fans, Jimmy. I'm stealing all
The good thing about it is if you send him money, he will stay away from you. And we will be back next week here on the program with a special guest that I'm still trying to line up, so I'm not going to plug. But hey, they're
I'm right here. I'll be here. Just ask me. I'll be here. I love being on your show.
And he won't be here. They're always great, folks, for the Jim Cornette experience. For those of us here at the experience, good day, everyone.
I'll be here. I will be here.
They're so funny.
I tell you what, I want to talk for a second about, because people have been asking about the book projects that I've had going on and what I've been trying to write around this trip. That's why I said I was going to take the, months of May, June, and maybe July off to finish I didn't set the phone off, to finish the books, including the Louisville Wrestling History book that I've been working on. And this is Kenny Bolin. Kenny Bolin actually trying to call me on my phone now. I muted that. It's ridiculous that I can't even do a podcast without having to hear from Star Maker. And when he's not on, at least, like who was it? Damon? Was it Damon that didn't like Bolin?
It was Max.
Max. No, Max. Max didn't like
and of course,
last
the
week.
gentleman earlier in the show. Yeah,
but
Max was last
yeah,
week.
that was Damon. Damon said he's a whole ass. And I'm smoking this fuck. I wanted to go back and make sure I had that.
Well, at least
that.
he's not saying that Kenny's half-assing things. Oh, no.
But if he had to haul ass, he'd have to make 3 trips. But anyway, the Louisville history book that I've been working on, John Cosper, an author here in Southern Indiana, has been doing a great job. Doing some of the research on the old days of Louisville, but I've actually been working on, the concentrating on the Jarrett days. And Mark James and I, who did Rags, Paper, and Pens, I've already had him scan like all the newspaper ads from the Louisville wrestling matches weekly from 1973 to like 1985. And we're already planning a 2-volume thing where not only are you going to get... he's doing it again! He's Star Maker Bolin continuing to... But you're going to get a 2-volume set, and not only are we going to have the newspaper clippings reproduced, but also all the results, the most ever assembled for Louisville wrestling matches. Good God, he will not get the idea. I don't want to answer this. How do I turn it off? Hold on, there we go. I think I've turned it off. Anyway, you can't get any peace from this guy. Anyway, where was I, Alice?
2-volume set. 2-volume set that the people will be getting. I believe that's where you were. Wait a minute. Holy shit.
What?
We're getting a call in on Skype. Do I answer it? No.
What?
We're trying to talk about the books here. No, I'm hanging up on him here. No.
Are you seriously? Bolin is on Skype.
Bolin is on Skype. I'm clicking disconnect on this one. Goodbye.
What's he trying to do? Do a run-in on the program?
I can't answer that. No.
Anyway, the most results for Louisville wrestling matches ever compiled anywhere. All the newspaper ads from the entire Jerry Jarrett run, 1970 through 1985. It's going to be a couple of volumes, and we're going to reproduce programs. We're going to have behind-the-scenes info on what actually happened back in those days, as well as TV anecdotes and results. It's going to be so cool, but it's taken me a long time, plus the Smoky Mountain Wrestling book that I've been working on, which is a whole nother research animal in itself.
Oh, goodness gracious. Hold on. Wait a minute.
What?
We're getting bowling again. I feel like we might have to take this call, Jim.
Answer the goddamn thing and see what the fuck he wants.
Let's do it.
Hello. Is it?
What?
Is it? Somebody there.
Dude, what do you want, you fucking buffoon? We're doing our show.
Fucking buffoon. That's what you finally answer one of the means of communication I've got on you, and fucking buffoon is what you call me.
You're doing the podcast. You have done a run-in on our podcast here. We're trying to tape the show, which you're not on, and you won't stop calling my phone, and you Skype Alice.
Well, apparently you think I'm a buffoon and a dumb fuck. Of course I know you're doing your goddamn show. Well, I should say our show. I'm the one who's supposed to be on this thing every week. As a matter of fact, I've seen your listeners. They're requesting me to be a co-host on it. But yet it seems like I've been blackballed the last 2 or 3 weeks, right when I need you the most. Right when things are crumbling over here. You won't even pick up a goddamn phone call.
What's the emergency? What's the emergency? What's the problem?
I tried to call you. I've been down at the courthouse today, man. I've got legal problems going on.
Oh, wait a minute. I've heard, and we haven't even had time to talk about your son, Catbox, has returned to the United States from Germany after 6 months on the run, abroad. And apparently he has upheld a Bolin name, if that's possible. He's a fugitive from justice. He's had a warrant out for his arrest at the courthouse. Is this what I'm hearing true?
Well, that's kind of what some people are saying, but there's some truth to that, man. Yes, I guess technically there was a warrant. But what happened was when he went to Germany, he had a speeding ticket. He got caught going 37 over in a school zone, and they don't look kindly upon it.
37 over in a school zone?
He was in a hurry. He was running late for, it wouldn't work. I forget where he was going, but he was late getting there is all I know. And I've asked him to slow down. You know me, Jimmy. I mean, I'm a stickler to the rules behind driving a car, and I try to pass those things on to my son. But he got going 37 miles over in a speed, and long story short, they gave him a ticket. He didn't pay it. He ended up going to Germany early. Thought he was going in late January. He went in early December.
Wait a minute. Who changed his itinerary? Who changed his schedule?
Well, he did.
Then didn't he know that he was leaving the country with an outstanding legal obligation, still unpaid debt to society that was not paid?
Of course. Well, it's a lot like when I got a speeding ticket about 20 years ago, and I knew I was moving to Nashville. I told them they could shove it up their ass. I knew I was leaving, and I was gone long enough that ticket had disappeared by the time I got back.
So you set a good parental leading by parental example on the statute of limitations. You're trying to teach the young man a lesson.
I almost did. Well, my son has some pride, and he ran into some legal complications over in Germany, and I guess you call it deportation. I don't know, but he was asked to leave Germany. We'll get into that later.
When the officials invite you to leave their country, that's usually called deportation. So.
Yeah, that was used, so I guess that's what they meant. But either way, we have attorneys working on that right now, and I don't want to get into the details as to why he's being asked to leave.
All right,
he's left. So then, out of the blue,
he lands back here a wanted man with a price on his head, and I guess he's scared to go out of the house without going to the courthouse because he just got home yesterday.
We didn't know that, but I was sitting there having dinner with my good friend Tim Dennison, the attorney here a few days ago, and I had informed him that there were some legal complications going on in Germany, and could he handle it? It looks like my son might be deported. And he said, well, I'll get right on that. And when he brought it up, he saw that Christopher had a bench warrant out for his arrest. I said, my son? A bench warrant? A fugitive? Come on. Well, there's got to be a mistake. Well, it turned out that poor little Chris had forgot to pay the court cost of $134, and he forgot to take the driver's test that they wanted him to do down there in Oklahoma somewhere. But he wasn't planning on ever coming back to this country anyway. He was going to stay here.
So it slipped his mind since he wasn't planning on ever returning.
Well, would you pay? I mean, let's be honest. Would you pay it if you knew you weren't coming back to a particular country?
Well, I guess actually I've done this.
How many fines you owe in North Carolina now that we're talking throwing dirt?
I've done the same thing in New Jersey, which technically is a different country. So, all right. But anyway, so the point is you go to the courthouse day. Did you get him straightened out, or did they retain him or detain him? Or
they didn't retain or detain him, but what they did is they made him stand in line like a common citizen, like a commoner. Normally, when a Bolin walks into a place of any type of establishment, we get preferential treatment. You know, it's always been that way.
I've seen that.
And if they don't know, we make sure we get it. Well, he marched to the front of the line. Well, apparently they didn't take too kindly to that.
and they sent him to the back of the line. I guess he'd been gone long enough they forgot who he was and who his father was. So they sent him to the back of the line, and he was in the back of the line so long that he started getting angry, and then a fight broke out between a Mexican lady and a black lady. Christopher tried to intervene to break it up. They start hitting on him, so he took a couple of swings back.
Wait, he's swinging back at the women?
There were two of them.
Okay, he was outnumbered. Obviously, he had no. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So he had to defend
situation.
He had to defend himself, and he was throwing forearms. He didn't really throw a fist. He didn't slap anybody. He didn't call anybody a bitch. He was just trying to keep them off from him. So fortunately, the officers understood.
Just from your 6'2", 250 plus pound son, just some clubbing forearms was enough to give him the idea, but not seriously injure anybody, is what you're saying.
I guess that might be one way to look at it, but he got the women off from him. The police apparently kind of understood. They didn't arrest him or anything, but they did make him go to the back of the line again. So we got there roughly at about 12 o'clock, 12:30, and I'm in the car. You know me and my health. I can't be ranting all over Louisville. And
you can't be bothered with standing up.
No, and for long periods of time, let's call it what it is, and crossing streets and elevators and escalators. Sometimes the escalator don't work. Sometimes the elevator's late, and it wears and tears on my health. There's only so many.
It wears and tears on the escalator too. I've seen it numerous times.
My current stance, the Bolin. I'm currently, as I'm an ill woman and bedbound.
There you go. You may know something about how I feel then. Maybe you'll spread a little sympathy over my way. So I sat in the car like a good father waiting on his son. I gave him the cash out of my pocket, not even a debit card. I said, here's cash, son. We don't want any problems. Go in there and get this stuff rectified. You can pay me back with your taxes, because he's getting ready to pay his taxes here real soon. And he said,
well, there's a first. Congratulations.
He promised me that he would reimburse me every penny, and my son's good for his word. I know he'll pay me, so I'm not worried about that. So I see doubt in your mind. I
didn't say a word. I'm just.
Yeah.
Would you continue telling his story? So your son's in there trying to get out of jail.
Finally,
the car on your fat ass doing nothing except biding time.
I was watching television.
And watching television in your car, that souped up. What year?
Do describe the car. I must hear.
What year is that car? What year is that car?
It's a 2002 Lincoln Town Car that I got free.
Solid jet black.
Solid jet black.
Rag top, right?
Rag top.
Rag top.
Got the.
Wait a minute. You've got a DVD screen and player in every one of the four seats. Driver, passenger, two back seats.
Yeah, everybody.
How does the DVD screen work in the driver's seat?
On the sun visors. On the visor.
So
you've got
one dead center for everybody, one in each visor up front if you want your own personal viewing. And sometimes when I'm driving, I can't be glancing over to the right and looking at the dead center screen, so I drop my visor down and I got a screen right there in front of me. Yeah, and I can see everything just fine.
So and besides that,
it needs this Google Eye shit. I mean, I've got my problem solved. I don't need Google Eye.
You got the BS logo in huge white letters on both doors on the sides of the thing.
Fair warning, so people.
And that's to get the preferential treatment. People see that logo and they back down. If there's a tie at a four-way stop, they see that logo.
Let's not even say that. Let's get back to our story. Let's say that you're sitting in that car that we've just described, and your son's there trying to pay his fine so they won't arrest him. Did that once again?
What I did not factor in is that I got a 1,500 watt sound system in there to go along with all those DVD screens. Every screen was on.
With your son, Catbox, getting out of jail.
I'm getting to that. He's in there trying to take care of the ticket. I'm trying to be entertained. I'm watching my shows. I'm watching The Rifleman, Bonanza, Gunsmoke. On TV, I've got a television antenna built in where I can get high definition TV right there in my car.
Tell us more about your needs. Go ahead. You keep this.
I'm watching my shows, and I forgot that I had 5 screens on and 1,500 watts of sound. He had been in there the better part of 3 hours. Well, apparently I dozed off somewhere during Bonanza and woke up somewhere during The Rifleman. And when I did, the screens all went black. I said, well, what the fuck? Something's gone wrong with my system.
That's the first thing I said.
And what it turned out is that when I tried to start the car to see what the problem was, the car wouldn't start. The battery was flat dead, drain dry, wouldn't even light up the goddamn temperature gauge. Poor Chris is still in the courthouse because he's been sent to the back of the line so many times. He's now still 6 deep because fortunately my cell phone battery was working. I was able to get through him. And here I have no car battery power, but I had enough power to call you on your phone because I know you got AAA gold. And all you had to do was phone them and say, hey, I'm parked in a parking garage with Star Maker license plate, and my logos have been.
So wait a minute. You mean to tell me all the times that you've been calling my phone incessantly since midday today?
Yes.
And I've not been answering because I've been busy. I've had work to do. I've had important things to do.
Yeah.
You were calling to try to get me to let you use my AAA card for an incident 20 miles away, not involving me.
I would have done it for you if I.
The first thing they ask you is the card member at the car to begin with. Einstein.
I had that covered. You had an important meeting to go to, and you left me there to man the car, and my friend Kenny Boland to be there to take care of this.
And I didn't leave you my card. Now this is not even a scheme worthy of you.
No. You had to keep your card because of in case you broke down with the friend that gave you a ride, you might need your card. So it would have worked. Believe me, I've done it before. It worked with every item.
I'm sure you have. So what happened?
You didn't answer the goddamn phones. What happened?
I guess I've buried the lead here. So Catbox pays his fine and comes out there, and I thought this all the excitement was going to be if they kept him in jail or incarcerated him, the young man. Instead, now the focus has shifted.
Yeah.
If you will, to the garage where your car is dead because you've run your fucking 5 screens and your 1,500 watts while sitting on your fat ass waiting for your son to get out of jail.
Right in the about a 350 mark, I see my son coming up, and I let him know we got bad news. The car won't start. He's been in line in there for the better part of 3 or 4 hours. Now the goddamn car won't start. Uncle Jimmy, Godfather Jimmy, won't answer the goddamn phone, so we can't use his AAA card. We called his stepdad. He can't come because he's got plumbers in the house putting in a new bathroom. Didn't want to leave the plumbers alone. He hired plumbers he didn't fucking trust.
Well,
that's sad.
You never know when a plumber could go wrong, but go ahead.
Well, we called his mother. His mother couldn't help us because she had to work till 5:30 in a nursing home.
I understand his mother's never been helped with plumbing or rides.
I called Walter T. Cotton, a good old friend of mine. No, he's asleep because he sleeps all fucking day. He won't be up till 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. So I basically had nobody to turn to. So what we did, the Prince come up with a pretty damn good idea. He said, here's what we're going to do. He says, Dad, you're disabled. You're in a beautiful Lincoln Town car with logos all over it. They're going to notice you. I'm going to push you in.
You get noticed in that car. I don't know if I'd apply the word beautiful, but you do turn a lot of heads when you go down the street in that car.
I can't believe how jealous you are of my car. But he pushed me into the middle of the parking garage there across from the county courthouse. I'm thinking this ain't going to work. Well, I want you to know that when he pushed me in the middle of that traffic and nobody can get around, all of a sudden people had cables and people had the time to pull up their car beside mine and give me a jump. A dark persuasion man wearing long dreadlocks.
Wait a minute. You pulled out in the middle of the street in a dead car and just sat there until somebody would come and service you for free out of there for blocking traffic. That's what you just said to me?
Not the street, the 3rd floor of the parking garage that I was in.
So you're blocking everybody from getting out of the parking garage.
And here's the great thing. It was just after 3:30, and everybody was letting out to go home. So we were blocking the entire garage.
That's the best thing about it.
Nobody's going home unless somebody comes up with cables and jumps my car. And that was the Prince's idea, and I wasn't there. I didn't have that one, so I got to pass that on to him. And I want you to know within 15 minutes we were jumped and running out of there, and that way I didn't have to use your AAA. I didn't have to.
I can believe you.
Gabrielle, my ex-wife, I didn't need the stepdads coming down. I didn't need anybody. We handled the fucking problem ourselves, and that's what Bolands do.
I can believe that you were running out of there, but I don't know that I'm surprised you didn't get jumped another way.
Well, I'm a pretty imposing figure. You'd have to be a lot of...
You've had... we'll talk about your imposing figure. You have had problems problems with the law for the past few weeks. You finally have one legal name. Would you care to enlighten us?
Well,
you have for the first time in how long? How long has it been since you've had one legal name with the federal government or the Social Security people or whoever the fuck it is that keeps track of these things?
Since 1962.
How many names did you have at your peak?
4.
But now you just got one.
I was Kenny. I was told I was Kenny Pitts. Then I was told I was Kenny Stallings. Then I was told I was Kenny Risen, and then they produced documents that said I was, so I had no reason to argue that. And then later I found out that I was Kenny Bolin, so we had Pitts.
But who are these mysterious days of whom you speak?
Well, Pitts is who I was told my real dad was, but it turned out he was dead.
No, you say they said or they said. Who was this they?
My mother.
Ma Bolin was involved in this, but now this was.
We'll get to her in a minute. She's been up to her shit again.
But hold on here a second, because you have used this multiple name situation to your benefit in multiple business dealings. So I'm wondering why you consolidated it down to Kenny Bolin if that is indeed your legal real name. Why did you just go to one?
It is the legal and real name. You've always known that. That's why, to be honest to the wrestling business and fair to the wrestling business, in 1986, when I knew I was going to be on television, I knew I was going to be a worldwide celebrity and loved by many. I didn't want to hurt or deceive my fans, and that's why I elected not to go by Kenny Pitts, Kenny Stalling. Kenny was the other one, Risen.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is, for the first time ever in history, you got into the wrestling business and decided you had to use your real name.
I wanted to be honest to my fans and friends and real family. I wanted to make the Bolins proud of me.
Well, we're on the subject of names. Why is your son called Catbox?
Jimmy.
Well, actually, that's a name that he picked up around town, Alice, because at one point in his life, when he was unemployed, Chris, his son, the Prince, better known as Catbox, needed a place to live, and Kenny, because he was making too much money renting the upstairs good rooms in his house
we refer to the luxury suites.
The luxury suites were going to other aspiring wrestlers in the OVW wrestling school, so he relegated Chris to the basement for a seduced rate on rent.
Well, remember, those WWE wrestlers had $750 a week of expendable money. They had
where Chris's duties were, among others, to get money knocked off the rent. He had to clean the Catbox and sleep on the floor pretty much next to it, adjacent to it, if you will.
Well, and Aaron the Idol Stevens had been released from his WWE contract and could not afford the $495 per room upstairs in the luxury suites, so we had to demote him down to the basement.
That's
with
right.
The Catbox.
Better known today as Damian Sandow, slept in the basement at Bolin Manor,
next to the Catbox with a divider in the basement.
That is paying dues, right?
No, actually, he was next to your son, Catbox, who was adjacent to the real Catbox. But we've digressed
Did he
off
have to
the
scoop
damn
up the
story.
son? No.
I heard he helped Chris clean the Catbox from time to time, but due to my health, I wasn't able to go down in the basement to do laundry or clean or anything like that. So that was their job. They also had to do the laundry while they were down there as well.
Never. He lived in the house for 7 years and never saw his washer or dryer. But anyway, we've gotten off the subject. The point is, somehow you were coerced into retaining one legal name. The government found out about you.
As you know, I'm on
Did the government always know that all of those different names were the same person? That's what I'm asking.
No, they did not. They did not always know that.
They requested apparently that you gets this shit.
As a matter of fact, I was pretty well convinced they thought it was 4 separate people, and I tried to live it as such. Bolin was the television star. Risen was the poor little, basically born a poor black child in Oldham County. I mean, that's pretty much what I was. Kenny Pitts, I never really knew him that well. And Kenny Stallings was a third-generation paint contractor. So everybody... Well, how do you find laughter in that? That's almost like having a multiple personality disorder.
What's the last thing you ever painted? What is the last thing you ever painted in your life?
A Hot Wheel car. Painted my little Hot Wheels, and that made me a third-generation paint contractor. I mean, I did a fine job on it. Also painted the end zones on my electric football. So don't act like I can't paint.
Did you work with Art Vandelay of Vandelay Industries.
Who's
The
that?
third generation paint contract. All right, but you just got one now, right? And they're on to you. You can't
Well,
do
when I contacted Social Security with disability to see if I'd be getting an increase again this year because my check has gone up each year that I've been on permanent disability, I wanted to see how much more money I was going to be getting. And then they started asking me who these people were. And I had to explain to them the situation I was put under through no fault of my own. I didn't ask for these names. I was giving them. I didn't go around with a daggum.
Each name have its own social security number?
We rather not talk about that here. That nothing that I did. No.
There was confusion about your birth date, which we've talked about in the past, as well as the location of your birth, but also your birth date.
Kenny Pitts.
Part of wait a minute. Part of it came from a made-up goddamn birth certificate.
That was the Risens did that. Johnny Risen, when they had my birth certificate made, well, there was a lot of shame with being born a Risen. Not only was he the cattle rustling. Shut up. Not only was he being arrested, he was running from the law, I think, when he married my mother. And then they finally caught up with him for the cattle rustling thing, and then he was the last man ever in the state of Kentucky convicted for cattle rustling. But we went to Florida for quite some time, which I found out later hiding from the law because they were looking for him here in Kentucky.
All right.
They weren't as advanced then, so that's how I become Kenny Risen, born in St. Petersburg, Florida. But my stupid stepdad didn't know what day I was born on, and he put March 13th. So I had the wrong birthday until I was 54 years old on my driver's license.
When the entire world knows it's March 16th. Well,
everybody knows. Everybody knows.
At least you've got it wrapped up finally.
But finally, Social Security agreed with me that this was no fault of my own. I went down and explained my story to them. They bought it, and they sent me a Social Security card that said Kenny Bolin. Why are you laughing again?
I don't know.
They sent me a Social Security card. I got a birth certificate. Mal Bolin finally did something nice around here. She went down to Frankfurt and got me my real birth certificate, and there it was. Kenny Bolin.
Wait a minute. All right,
American Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky, born March the 16th, just like I always knew.
Don't give your personal information out on the internet.
I gave out my Social Security number, man. You gotta slow me up.
Ma Bolin, you just talked about Ma Bolin. It's all over town. Is the story true that Ma Bolin called the cops on you?
Yeah, goddamn well it's true. Because once again, I tried to call you to get you to collaborate who I was and that I wasn't breaking into my own home. Everyone's a kid, he didn't answer the fucking phone.
You wanted me to collaborate who you are?
Hey, well, you know who I am. You've known me as Bolin for the better part of 20-some-odd years, 30. Well, you knew me as Rising, and then you knew me as Bolin.
He had to corroborate that you were you to...
He needed to tell the cops that I'm me. Here's what happened. I had gone to do a delivery because, as you know, the Beats by Bolin headphones are selling like hotcakes. They're going nuts. The only thing that's coming close to selling it.
People don't even say hotcakes anymore. They say they're selling like Beats by Bolin.
They're selling like Beats by Bolin, and I appreciate that. That's nice. But the only thing selling nearly as close are the Bolin BS 2.0 T-shirts.
Would you get to the point of the question?
I'm getting to the point. So I went down. I told Ma Bolin I'm going down to get some more shirts printed. Be ready. I'm going to need you to package these and get them ready to ship out. You got to earn your goddamn keep around here. So be ready to pack up some more shirts when I get back. Well, what time are you going to be back? About 4 o'clock. Well, they couldn't get everything done in time, so I got back early. Well, Ma Bolin knows something about everybody in this entire community back here. I don't care who you are, she knows something about you. She sees and hears all. Well, a big 2-ton black 2002 Lincoln Town Car with my logos on each side of it pulled into a parking spot, got out of the car, came to the goddamn doors locked. Well, I left it unlocked.
No, wait a minute. Hold on here 1 second. I must say also that I've seen Bolin Manor.
Yeah.
And if you park in one of those parking spots right out in front of your door, literally you are 10 feet in front of the front window, which dominates the entire front of your residence.
10 to 15, I'll give you that, yeah.
And then you pretty much can't look around anything that's parked in front of your apartment, can you?
No, absolutely not.
All right, go ahead with your rant.
Apparently I parked a little bit to the right, and she couldn't see my car out the window. So when I went up and tried to shimmy the door to get in, I can't get in. Well, I shimmy again, thinking this.
You shimmy the door? You're talking about...
I'm turning the knob. I'm turning the knob.
You don't call that shimmy.
Well, I
That's
did.
ludicrous.
Well, I called it shimmy, and you'll accept it for now. So I'm shimmying the door, trying to get in. And
We're gonna have to assume he was shimmying at the time.
liked it a lot better when he was a co-host and didn't talk. We'll see if we can go back to that. So I'm trying to get in. Maul Bolin apparently is in. Apparently she's in here and thinks we're being robbed. She does not realize that I am trying to get in the door. So then I take the keys and try to get in. Well, she's gone by then. Well, I don't know. I didn't even know she was in here.
Gone where? Where was there? There's no place to go. There's only one door.
There you go. There you go. So I assume she had took a walk. Maybe went down to get the mail. Maybe went to visit one of these fine neighbors she knows so much about. So I come in, and there's Misty, all happy to see me, my black lab, 14 years of age. And we're sitting there playing and frolicking about and just kissing on each other, happy to see each other.
Oh, my God. Just,
What?
all right. You're happy to see the dog. The dog's happy you're home. Fuck, continue.
I'm loving on my dog, and then all of a sudden, here comes Maul Bolin out of the bathroom, holding a telephone going, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. I said, well, what's the matter? What's going on? Oh, my God, Kenny, I thought I was being broken in on. I said, being broken in on? It's me, Mom. I'm trying to get in the goddamn house. Well, I've been called 911. The police are on their way. I said, you gotta fucking be kidding me. You've called the goddamn police on me, so now I gotta get the phone from her and call the police and say, hey, don't come. Well, yeah, of course the criminal.
How many times do you think they do that? Yo, don't come. It's all a misunderstanding.
It's all a misunderstanding, and I'm trying to explain to the police. So the first thing I think of, hey, Jimmy can explain this. So I tried to call you.
Oh, gee, I come back in this again.
To explain to the police that I am who I say I am, and that I'm not trying to break into my own home. Maul Bolin's name ain't even on the goddamn lease, and she's calling the goddamn law on me to keep me out of my own home.
Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Let me summarize this incident. You come into your home.
Yes.
And you shimmy on the door and jiggle it and make noise with it.
Yeah, jiggled and shimmied.
Because it's locked, and you never lock your door because you're always looking for the next insurance scam. So if anybody wants to try Bolin's front door, it's usually open. But in this case, you find...
And I'm heavily insured.
You find the door locked and you're shimmying with it, and your mother sitting inside on the very couch inside that particular door. I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yes.
Runs to the bathroom, which is located adjacent, much as your son's cat box was located adjacent to his sleeping quarters. The bathroom is adjacent to that room, so literally she was 15 feet from the front door locked in that bathroom when you came in there and were playing with a dog that conservative estimates put at 150 pounds. The fattest, widest black Labrador I've ever seen in my life, and you're playing with a 150-pound dog, and she don't know it's you?
She claimed she didn't know it was me.
She claimed.
She is a...
Do you think she was trying to get you to commit suicide by cops so she could take over the empire?
Kind of makes you wonder, don't it? Well, all I know is that I couldn't talk the police out of coming. They said they had to answer the calls. So 4 cops show up here. I step out, hands raised, mind you, to make sure that they knew that I didn't.
And that'd be the first exercise you've done in months.
And I called in. So I go out and explain to the police, and I show the Bolin logo. I show fortunately, a couple of the cops knew me from television, realized I lived in the neighborhood, and I said, yeah, this house right here, the one I was trying to get in. And I said, the woman is a little senile. She's kind of lost it, and she thought she was being broken in. And I apologize for this, and I gave them each a free set of Beats headphones, and they went away. And it's fine.
So you've had bad luck. Not only have you had brushes with the law, your son has been a wanted fugitive, just recently bailed himself out of that situation.
But I do only have one name now, Kenny Bolin.
You only have one name, and I also heard, Alice, here's another little piece. Remember the pizza guy that did the cameo on The Experience several weeks ago?
Please.
Not only did mute him for a minute, Alice. Not only did the guy who brought the pizza bring free pizza in exchange for commercial considerations such as DVD, movies, etc., but also the pizza guy tipped Bolin. It's well known in the city of Louisville now that the pizza guy, we will not mention the chain, but the pizza guy that was dealing with Star Maker Bolin was not only asked to leave the premises of that establishment, but was escorted off the premises directly due to his involvement with Star Maker Bolin and asked not to return.
We had worked out one final deal. He knew that I had 20-some...
Leader? Oh!
It was his last day there at said establishment. I had 22 new movies that he wanted, and I said, "Well, we can either do this by cash or
We can do
merchandise."
this the easy way or the hard way, is what you're.
Well, I use the phrase cash or merchandise, and what do you have to offer? He said, "Well, you know that fish you love?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I can bring you 2 or 3 bags of it." I said, "Fantastic." That's about 15 pounds of fish. I said, "What about those chicken strips?" He
Wait,
said,
but they have fish at a pizza place?
Yeah, they got all some of the best.
Oh, that's I remember where you're talking. We can't mention the company.
Can't mention the company. I'd rather you not.
They got fish and chicken. What? Jesus Christ, they got everything.
So he was going to bring me 15 pounds of fish, and I said, "What about that chicken?" He said,
15 pounds.
So he was going to bring me 15 pounds of fish, 15 pounds of chicken, and 2 of their $30 pizzas, along with a few other various items, dips and sauces and variouses and so on. And
this is like $400 worth of shit.
I didn't put a price on it. I just
of course you did.
He wanted the 22 movies, and that's what I wanted in exchange. So about 2:30 in the morning, he's supposed to be here at 1 a.m. to bring me all this stuff.
Oh, well, whenever the guy brings you the black market goods at 1 o'clock and he's till 2:30 and still hasn't shown, you know it's not going to end.
There's a saying going on. I've heard it before. Nothing good ever happens after midnight. Bullshit's all I can say. I have a lot of good happen after midnight. So I call him at 2:30, and he says, "Kenny, I'm out here at the car." He says, "I've never been more embarrassed in all my life. I had all your goods and supplies laid out to do the trade, and they apparently were on to what I was doing. They said I was taking too much. They didn't mind me taking a pizza or 2, but when I got the fish and the chicken and the sauces, they told me that my shift was over, and they escorted me to my car and asked for me never to return again."
When I got the dolly out and started taking the stock from their freezer.
Dolly? It don't take a dolly to get a measly 30 pounds worth of fish and chicken. Quit agging onto the story. So yeah, we had that happen, and it's just so nearly my friend gets arrested. Christopher's got problems going on in Germany. I think we've got everything resolved here. I think he will be a legal driving citizen within the next 24 hours.
Just think about this. Your son, yourself,
been a stressful day.
Friends, your associates all having legal problems. You know, the only member of your immediate family or social circle that actually has a legitimate job, works for a living, believe it or not, is your brother Butch, old Biscuits and Gravy. He is the only one. He's the only one that's got wait a minute. He's got a full-time job. He works for a living. He's a fine, upstanding profession. He's selling buttons. It's a legal trade. It's fine and rewarding work. At least he's out there hustling, selling buttons, doing things the right way, trying to make his own living.
Oh, my freaking God. Of all things for you to say, and you are claiming that my brother, Biscuits and Gravy Razor, is the one member of this family.
Hey, wait a minute. He's got a different last name because he's only your half-brother, and I forget which half, but I could...
The bad half. The uneducated half.
There's a line. But anyway, Biscuits and Gravy is working. You told me.
We have the same mother. Yes, I don't think she's ever called the law on him, though, that I can recall. I don't know how legal you would say this business is that he's got, because I don't condone this at all. What he does, now hear me out here, and you tell me if this is legal or not.
Like the photo buttons and the things that all...
Yeah, he has those buttons. He makes them for about 30 cents a button, and he sells them for about $1. I do not like the markup. The markup's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not going to say what my items are marked up, but it's a little bit higher than that. And I don't like the markup, but here's what else he does.
You want to sell a 30-cent piece of equipment for like $10 is what you'd like to do, isn't it?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's how you make the most money. Buy low, sell high. If you'd listen to me, I teach you how to run your stock market, the little things you got going on there. I could work the stock market great. Buy low, sell high.
Mad money with Star Maker Bowling. All right. Anyways, but at least he's trying to make some kind of money, and it doesn't cost him much to live in the fucking deer shack down there.
No, the deer shack's paid for. He sold some land that he had, basically that I gave him the down payment on, and he got lucky on it, and made some money off from it, and he bought him a deer shack for about $30,000 down there on.
I wasn't asking about his real estate. I was just making the observation that it don't cost him. So if he makes a modest profit at his legal business.
He lives rent-free, and this is where I'm getting into the legal business thing. This is where I got a problem. He actually steals logos off the internet. He doesn't. These are copyrighted logos, Jimmy, and he steals these logos and puts them on buttons and then sells them to various little hick stores around Carroll County, Trimble County, Oldham, and Henry. And because they're uneducated, they don't know any better. They're stupid. So they don't realize
it's bootleg stuff. It's bootleg.
Yeah, absolutely. It's bootleg buttons is what it is. I'm glad you come up with that.
So I was
bootleg buttons.
I was wrong all along, and he's making a crooked living, and he's not worthy of our praise and our admiration.
No. Somebody of an educated level is going to figure out and they're going to arrest him and take him to jail.
So what he's doing is he's taking copyrighted intellectual property and material in entertainment and on the internet, and he is copying this and selling it for his own personal gain. And as a result of that, he's totally worthy of our scorn and not our praise and admiration.
I personally am ashamed of him, and I don't even like to say his name. You like the name Biscuits and Gravy because he got jealous over my nicknames and your nickname. What do they call you? The Louisville Lip? No, you're the Slugger. Somebody else was the Lip.
Regardless.
Muhammad Ali was the Louisville Lip.
Yes.
It could have been. I've heard the name. But so now that you brought all this stuff upon my family, do you mind if we have a common friend? You know the name Jerry Jarrett when I throw that name about, right?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Have you been bothering Jerry again?
No, I don't bother Jerry. I've never bothered Jerry. Other maybe than that great debate we had. I saw that posted on Twitter today. Somebody thought that was real funny to rehash that and post that. And Jerry had some disparaging things about me.
I got a communique from one of our listeners, one of the Cult of Cornette, who apparently had watched that, and we quoted that earlier in the program, you whole ass.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something, and I want you to answer this. Your own numbers alone, and from what I hear from Alice, about 90% of your listeners love me, adore me, want me on this show every week, think I'm a great addition to the show. Not only did you not have me on last week, you tried to not have me on this week until you thought you could embarrass me by talking about the troubles of my son, and obviously my brother's a crook.
I don't know about the 90% figure.
I think that's about right. I think it's about 90%. And oh, by the way, fuck Max in Columbus, Ohio. I still feel that way about him, so fuck him. But Jerry Jarrett, a name that I respect very much in this business, I know a name that you respect very much in this business. I hung out the entire weekend with Jerry Jarrett this week. And
yes, you did. As a matter of fact, you told me 5 days in advance that you heard he was coming to town and told me the wrong day, and then told me you were going to tell him to cancel because it was up against the Louisville, Kentucky game, and then it turned out to be the next day, which you told me with 1 day's notice when I already had commitments.
I had some bad.
And so that way you could monopolize Jerry Jarrett's time while he was in Louisville, Kentucky, and take him out to eat and butter him up is what you were trying to do.
I love how you try to phrase things. None of the things that you're saying are even remotely true.
Oh, all right.
What happened was I had some bad information, and I gave Jerry some bad information that I quickly rectified. Still recommended that he come another time and allow me to be his personal promoter. Nobody promotes like Kenny Bolin, and maybe I haven't even.
I can believe that. No,
I should let you help me because you've done a little promotion in your day. Can you imagine the two of us promoting Jerry Jarrett? But he wanted to honor his word. He said he was coming, so he came. So I wanted to show him what life with Kenny Bolin was like. Here he's been around. Jimmy, I've been around you since 1975, I guess. I don't know that I've ever even shook hands with Jerry Jarrett, and mainly a form of cock blocking that you've done to where you never even let me get near Jerry Jarrett the whole time I ever knew you. So here is what
I was afraid he would blame me for you.
Set yourself up. You are burying yourself so deep right now because I'm getting ready to read to you what Jerry Jarrett posted on his Facebook wall for the world to see. I don't know if Alice has been able to read it yet or not. Maybe Alice ain't a friend of Jerry Jarrett's, but I am, so here we go. I want to thank my friend Kenny the Starmaker Bolin for a good meal and even better conversation during my visit to Louisville. Walter T. Cotton joined us, and Walter's a good guy. And we had a good time walking down memory lane concerning the good times at the Louisville Gardens. The one sour note to my trip was discover that another friend's honesty, integrity, and character was brought into question. You want to know who that person was, Jimmy? Jimmy Cornette.
Oh, me.
Jimmy Cornette. I'm reading a quote here. This is for the world to read. I ain't making a word of this stuff. Jimmy Cornette has for years advised me that Kenny Bolin was a tightwad and that only thought about himself and would not buy his mother a glass of water on a hot day. He also disparaged Kenny Bolin's good name by stating that the only fame Kenny ever got was by riding Cornette's coattails. Well, all of these statements were proven to be untrue. Kenny and Walter picked me up at the arena, took me to the restaurant of my choice, encouraged me to order whatever can only be described as a feast. Everyone in the restaurant knew Bolin, and when the huge bill came, the manager came to the table and said, "Mr. Bolin, I am honored to serve you and your guest, and the meal is my treat. Thank you, Kenny Bolin, for a wonderful weekend." Jerry Jarrett.
So you still didn't...
Right after that, Kenny commented, "Jim, Stacy Cornette can bite me."
You still didn't pay for the meal? Did you pay for that meal?